All right, hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you're following our story that is breaking on Murad Muhammad, the founder of Invasion Global, last night, we released a 3.5-hour video with 8 first-hand accounts and testimonies of people who were victims of Murad, 7 of the 8 who were victims of sexual abuse and molestation. It is horrific. And unfortunately, tonight we have more testimonies as well. I want to give you a quick update before we get right into it. We have contacted the FBI, and we are awaiting follow-up with them. We have contacted the local authorities in Dayton, Ohio, where Murad lives and where some of these incidents occurred. We have confirmed they have happened in over 5 states and 2 countries, and that's just from the 10 people that I've talked to. We have 17 other victims that I haven't heard from, and many who are coming out of the ministry even last night. I am pleased to say that last night we had 5 people reach out to our group. Some of the former members, I'm in a group chat with them, about 40 of them who are victims. And there were people who came out of the ministry last night because they were able to get a phone and watch the live stream. They saw what was happening, and they messaged these guys and said, hey, I ran out of the house. Help me. I have nowhere to go. They started a GoFundMe to get these guys a plane ticket to get them somewhere safe. I mean, this is the reality. And let me just tell you how controlling these situations are, especially with Murad. We are hearing testimonies of people who are saying, I just left 4 days ago. He would take our phones. He would change our passcodes so that we couldn't get into it without his permission. They would watch us use the phone. They would stand outside of the bathroom when we went into the bathroom to make sure that we weren't calling anyone or listening to any video or anything like that. They would control our finances. I mean, the whole thing is extremely dangerous. It is a cult, and we are trying to blow the lid off of the whole thing. So please, tonight, I ask you, make sure you thumbs up the video. I know it sounds like, what good does that do? What difference does it make? It tells YouTube people want to see this video. It pushes it out to more. Please share the video. Hit that share button. Hit the copy link button. Post it to your social media. This needs to go far and wide, and I'll tell you why. I am calling this guy the Christian Jeffrey Epstein, and I'll tell you why. And if you heard the testimonies last night, you already know where I'm going with this. This guy, Murad, he recruits people so that he can molest them. It is a ring of recruitment and molestation. The whole ministry, I am convinced, is just a guise. It's a method in order to find more victims. And if you remember, many of the people last night shared the heartbreaking story of the Honduran kid who got saved at an evangelistic outreach. Got saved that night. Murad saw him and said to a team member, go recruit that guy to join the ministry. The kid didn't even speak English, had to have a translator. Joins the ministry that night. That night, he gets molested by Murad. Murad is doing this on purpose, and he's using his team to do it. Now, you might say, well, why would the team go along with it? They didn't know it was happening. What happened was this Honduran boy left, and if you remember the testimony from last night, he told one of the kids a few days later, hey, I'm outside the house. Please don't tell anyone. Come out and meet me. And he says, Murad molested me. And the guy goes, oh my gosh. This happened to me too. And it pulled the thread that unwound the entire thing. And then people began to speak out. You see, they stayed quiet because of fear, because of shame. Many of them saying, I felt like it was my fault somehow. This is exactly how abusers work. But praise God, when one gets the courage to speak up, everybody starts getting more empowered, more emboldened to speak out. And tonight you'll hear from them as well. Hey guys, I'm Shane Winnings. I aim to give a biblical worldview on a world that's not so biblical, and I lead a national men's ministry called Promise Keepers. We are men of integrity, and we will not stand for this, and that is why I'm speaking out. Let's get into it. All right, first we'll be hearing from a young man. His name is Gio. And you will hear how Murad used prophecy or fake prophecy to manipulate and coerce him to join the ministry so that he can do what he did. Without further ado, let's kick it over to Gio. Let me get him pulled up here for a second. All right, there he is. Hey, Gio, thanks for joining us, man.
Thank you, Mr. Winnings, for everything that you're doing and allowing your platform to be used to just hear these stories and these testimonies. And
Yeah,
I really
absolutely.
respect what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's the least I can do.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, just tell us your age, your name, how old you were when you met Murad or came in
Yes,
contact
sir.
with him, and just tell us your story, man.
Yes, sir. So my name is Julian Velasquez. I'm about 21. I'm 21 right now. When I had joined the ministry, I was 18 years old. I'm going to take this back to 2022. I was fresh out of high school, and a couple months later, I was just seeking God. Generally wanted to seek Jesus wholeheartedly, serve Him wherever I could. And I came across his social media. I came across Invasion Global. Around this time, I was also having different problems concerning my family and our household. And I believe this is something that he took advantage of as well.
Mm.
So I started reaching out to him. I spoke to him and I expressed that I genuinely wanted to seek God, wanted to seek healing, wanted to travel and serve the Lord and see people blessed through what he was doing. Um, he After maybe the same week that I got to know him, and he was texting me different scriptures, asking me different questions. Um, there was specific times where he would send me different prophecies, and I wanted to share a few, and he took note of it and I actually have screenshots of it. And I believe he used these prophecies to just manipulate me and eventually convince me to leave my parents' house, run away from my house,
Wow.
call the cops on my parents. And I was in Dominican Republic at the time. So
Okay.
I ended up taking a flight from Dominican Republic all the way to Chicago, Illinois. So if you don't mind, I'd love to share one of the
Yeah.
prophecies. This is what he said, and I have a screenshot as well. I'm reading off my phone.
Okay.
So it says, "Tell Jolian that I love him, but if he does not leave his family behind like Lot's wife, if he looks back, he will be destroyed. I myself do not want to destroy him, nor will I, but Satan wants to destroy his life. Tell him my word says in John 10:10 that the thief comes not to steal, kill, and destroy, but I have come to give you life and life more abundantly. Tell him Satan seeks to destroy his life, but I'm preserving it. But if he does not take my way of escape for him, then something worse can happen if he does not obey. His parents are full of devils of religion and rage, and I myself cannot override their free will. Take my instructions, son, and leave now." So of course, back then I was 18.
Right.
I was very intrigued by the prophetic insight that he had over my life. And obviously, if you tell me that you're hearing from God, you're hearing from the Most High, I'm sold out.
Right.
So that's just one. That's
And I'm sure
one.
some of it might even sound appealing, the idea of like getting out of the situation you're in and
Right.
going somewhere else and exercising your freedom and following God.
Exactly.
So his word just kind of affirms what you might already want to do. Is that right?
That's right.
Man,
That's
yeah,
right.
so manipulative. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is another one that he sent. This is around a time where I was already planning to run away from my house and also call the cops on my family, on my parents. He said, "The Lord said that Jolian will be fine. He will come. Don't worry about him. I will fight for him and I will speak to his parents. If they hearken unto me, then I will spare them the rod of judgment. But if they don't, I will deal with them accordingly. Their parents have not obeyed me and they have not obeyed me. Their culture is so close to each other and they don't want to move. And that's why their country is going downhill in a recession. But the ministers do not want to move out there. Out therefore I will judge them according to the works they have rendered unto me. Be not afraid, for they say, I will fight for you, son, and I will fight also for your son." So this is him, quote unquote, receiving a word from God for himself, for him to, stay calm and that I'll be eventually in Chicago with him.
Right, and he shares that with you
And he shares this with me.
so that you can see. Like, oh, God already told me not to worry that you're gonna come.
Exactly.
It's so manipulative, dude.
Right. And this is another example. This is when we were about to buy the flight from Dominican Republic to Chicago. Um, and this is, I'm reading screenshots, by the way.
Okay.
It says, I was speaking and I said, but didn't God say I need to leave now, prophet? And he said, yes, that's to your friend's house. And I said, how will I do that without a key, prophet? And he said, but I heard him say, buy your flight for the morning and choose American, but there's no flights for the morning for tomorrow. When I went to buy yours for tomorrow, I kept feeling a check, but then I checked Sunday and it's for the morning and American, and it gives you time to look for the key. So, like I
God
said,
said that.
God said, buy the
God's an
ticket for
American
this day.
Airlines supporter. Wow.
Those are a few examples. And
But it's funny now, we're looking back and we're like, this is stupid.
right,
But in the moment, it wasn't stupid to you. I mean, are you
right.
like, you're believing this?
I'm sold out at this point because I remember the prophetic insight he had. I was so intrigued by it. And if you're speaking to me at 18, speaking about how you're hearing from God that I need to leave my house now, that I need to call the cops on my parents, and that I need to run away. I mean,
Yeah.
you took advantage of my vulnerability at that point.
Yeah. And,
Those
and I just want to make a comment too. Like, you know, I remember being 18, 19, and I think I've got it all figured out. And people even say, oh, you're an adult now, like you should have more wisdom. People don't understand how evil spiritual manipulation is, because it's not just one person telling you something. They're in this position of like authority because you believe that they're hearing from God. And especially as a new believer or as a young believer, as an immature believer, you're more likely to go along with what they're saying, especially if it looks like they're trying to help you out of a bad situation. And
exactly.
so I just want the viewers to hear this, and you might not remember what it was like when you guys were 18, but to hear this young man say, like, dude, I was deceived by this guy. It's I just think sometimes people will look at an 18-year-old and think you should know better, and it's like,
Right.
dude, the level of deception, what Murad is doing is so intentional. Like he's good at it, and it's believable, and clearly because it led you to go to Chicago.
100%. And this is another example. This is like him drawing an angel that he said he saw in a vision that was supposed to protect me
Wow.
um,
Yeah, we can see
from
it.
anything that. And looking back, I'm like, I mean, you could draw that in 2 seconds and put
Right.
whatever you want to put. It says Julian shall fulfill his calling, um, and that there will be an angel guarding him. Um, yes, yes. I I remember him manipulating me. I told him about how my parents didn't really agree with the fact that I was going to start traveling with the ministry. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know what was going on, but I was sold out. And obviously, they wanted to protect me from anything. Um, there were fights that broke out in my house between me and my parents, and I was just like, listen, I'm sold out. Ultimately, I want to serve Jesus. And so he used, like, I remember that night my parents hit me. My parents, did a
Mm,
lot of things, and I had marks on my body. And I guess like he was like, "Listen, you're 18. You can do what you need to do. You can call the cops on your parents." And eventually, the cops came and they heard me out. They heard my parents out, but they couldn't do anything because I was already 18. So thinking back now, I'm just like, you used everything perfectly.
right.
You used my parents hitting me. You used anything you could to get me out of Dominican Republic and join you in Chicago. And so once I got out of the house, I actually had a friend that I was supposed to meet, and I went to his house after I ran away. He took me to the airport, but before even taking me to the airport, Murad had started prophesying over my friend as well, saying like, "Listen, uh, your future wife, doesn't she look like this? Doesn't she have this type of color of skin?" And of course, my friend's like, wow, like this is crazy. He has never had a spiritual experience like this before. So
Yeah.
he was like, Julian, like I'm gonna get you to the airport. Don't worry about it. Like I'm sold out as well. I'm gonna help you. And I waited at his house like 3 a.m. We drove down to the airport and I got to Chicago. And once I got to Chicago, I remember that the first night, obviously he invited me to his room. Um, he invited me to his room
And that's the
and
standard protocol that I'm hearing, right? It's like new guys,
they
right to the room.
it's a privilege. It's a privilege.
Hmm.
Um, so I go into the room. I remember the first night he did say, like, listen, if you don't want to sleep next to me, that's fine. Don't if you feel uncomfortable sleeping next to anybody, that's fine. So I'm like, okay, he's saying this. Obviously, off the bat, I'm kind of weirded out that you're already asking me to sleep next to you the first day I get here.
Right.
Um, but he did say, look, if you don't want to, that's fine. So I said, okay, I'll see what happens. So I slept next to him. I don't remember him. I don't think he touched me that night. However, I have had multiple instances after that day where I did end up sleeping on the same bed as him, and I would wake up with an erection. I would wake up with an erection. I would wake up with semen over my body, on my underwear, and I would ask myself, like, what's going on? And when I would wake up, I would see his hand on my genital. I'm being straightforward.
Yeah,
I would see it there.
dude.
And the first time it happened to me, I remember I was in Chicago. We were at a pastor's house, actually. We were at a minister's house and we were doing ministry together. And I was in the room. I woke up this way. And at first, I didn't say anything because I was so innocent and I was so deceived that I thought that he might have been praying for me at the nighttime, like at night. I was so deceived that I thought
Yeah,
that he had put his hand there, maybe, I don't know, praying for me, praying for my dreams so I don't get sexual dreams or anything like that. And looking back now, I'm just like, this is insane how I
yeah.
was manipulated the way I was, and many others as well. Um, so that had happened, and I
How
did
many times did that happen to you?
multiple times. I can't say like a steady number, but it was multiple times. I did confront him about it one time. I think it was through a text message, and obviously he apologized, and he has apologized many times to many people, but there is
I've
no
never
repent.
heard of him denying.
Right, right.
I haven't
There's
heard
no
one person say he denied it ever. I
there's
always
no denying.
hear that he gives an excuse or something.
Right.
So that was the case for you as well.
He just said, "I'm sorry." Like, I think he also mentioned like, um, sometimes I don't know what I'm doing while I'm sleeping. I'm unconscious, etc. But to go against that, I'll share this with you. There was a night, another house, another state. I don't recall the state. Uh, I remember him invited me to the bed. I was next to him, and it was like he laid down next to me, and he wrapped his leg around my body, his arm around my body as well. And within 2 seconds, like literally 2 or 3 seconds, he started acting like he was sleeping. But as he was sleeping, he literally was like humping like on my leg, and like at the end, like I don't know, he like made a sound or like a you know what I mean?
Right, right. Like he had
And
had an orgasm or something.
right. And I'm like, I'm in
Dude,
shock. Like I can't even move. Like I don't even know what to do.
my God, man.
Uh, I was in shock. I could not move at that moment. And he can't say that he was sleeping. Nobody falls asleep in 2 or 3 seconds. It was quick. It was quick. He closed his eyes, wrapped his
You
leg around
know,
me.
and you know,
Right,
because in these other guys, they say like, "Oh, he was pretending to sleep." Like like we're not idiots. Like we
right,
have discernment. It's just like how you can tell when someone's staring at you and you turn around and they are. Like
right,
you have discernment. God has given us this. You know when something's up and you're like, I wake up out of a dead sleep, all this stuff's happening to me, and then I'm just like, I feel like he's pretending to sleep. Like, why else would you think that?
yeah,
Like, it's happening. And bro, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, man. Like, this is, as a dad of boys, as a former cop, as just a man, like, this disgusts me. And, like, I just want to go over there and take
Right,
care of business. And
right,
that's not how it's done. Like, we're doing it the right way. We're doing
right.
interviews. We're giving it to the police, to the FBI.
100%.
This is disgusting, because when you really think about it, you weren't recruited to join a ministry.
Oh,
The ministry is just the the method, the appeal, the draw to get young guys in
right.
so that he can do this.
To cover everything.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sure you've heard, you did hear testimonies of people saying, like, listen, it was confusing because we were still doing giveaways. We were blessing people, like at these outreaches where we're giving out PS5s, clothes, ice cream, food, all types of things of people. We would see, the power of God move, and like it was confusing. It was confusing. And the way
Yeah.
that he would speak about the word and scripture, we were receiving something, but behind closed doors,
He was a
there, I
monster.
mean, exactly.
Have you reconciled that now? Like, do you understand how those two things could be happening simultaneously, or do you still wonder?
Sometimes I still wonder, but I do understand that people have free will. You can, you know, it's hard to explain,
Let me
the
help if I
power,
can,
right, right.
because maybe this will help you, others, people watching, because you wonder, how the heck can this guy? Because I'm like, if I was the Lord, and I'm glad I'm not, but if I was the Lord and like someone was using my name by day and molesting people by night, I'd kill him. If I was God, I'd strike him dead. But God doesn't do that, and I don't get it. Um, but what I do know is that if anything, this reveals that it is the name of Jesus that saves, heals, delivers. It's not Murad. It's not some prophet. It's the name of Jesus. It's the power of God, not the power of Murad. And so, you know, God is faithful to his name. God's faithful to his word. God also has mercy on the people who show up who really need a move of God. And he'll have mercy on them, and he'll move, and he'll confirm his word, and he'll do what he says, because he's a man of his word. And when Murad turns and then makes you guys out to be victims, that's him not being a man of his word, but that doesn't change that God is a man of his.
Amen.
So free will, yes, but also, understand that, Matthew 7 tells us that there are people at the end of the age who are going to stand before God and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we do all these miracles? And he's going to say, depart from me, I never knew you, right? There are
100%.
people, there are people who did miracles and deliverance and prophesied in his name. They're going to go to hell. So that tells me that, one, everyone doing miracles and prophesying is not of God. Two, people who are not of God can still prophesy and do miracles and all this stuff because it is the name of Jesus. So, as you try to reconcile that, like, I think what's so hard, and maybe you can speak to this for a moment, what's so hard about this is many people walk away from the faith, or they walk away from God because what a man did.
Right.
Because he was representing God in a season, and God is not a sexual abuser.
Not at all. Not at all. I totally agree with what you're saying. And I know you've heard testimonies of people that have departed from the faith, honestly, have departed from the faith because of what was done. And it was their first experience concerning Christianity. And it's really sad. It's just it's a lot. However, we do pray for those who were affected. We do pray that they get, restored, and that
Yeah.
they do realize that it wasn't Jesus. It was not God that, no. It was a man who had free will that decided to do this and has decided to use the Lord's name in vain. So, and
Well,
if
go ahead. Go ahead.
I wanted to share this also because I do know I sent it to you. I have a picture just to show you um, how touchy this man was with the students and with different members.
Yeah.
And I did reach out to Asher, and he told me that it's fine. But this is one just
Oh
to
yeah,
see.
you can see he's got his arm around his waist there.
Yep,
Just, I
100%.
mean, just not appropriate.
And this is a video of him, like play fighting with us, wanting us to be seen as uh his sons or whatever. This is one.
So this was pretty common. He would just kind of wrestle
Yes,
around a
sir.
lot. Was there just a lot of physical contact?
All the time. Yes, sir.
And so if you were looking at this from the outside, you could say, "Oh, it's just guys messing around." But when you look at everything, you understand that this is just another way to desensitize you to touch.
Right. 100%.
And even as we're talking, I just got a message that we have an update of 30 confirmed victims. So 3 more, and close to 50 alleged. So there's 20 more that we need to confirm.
Wow.
I mean, this is
Wow.
horrific. So, man, I'm just so grateful that you had the courage to come on here and share your story. It needs to be heard, and we're doing everything we can, man, to get this message out. I do know from last night's video, and you saw in the group chat, that there were people who saw the video and they left.
100%.
What message would you give if someone's, because I know he's also trying to take people's phones. He's changing their passwords. He's like monitoring them, locking them down. If there is anyone who's in that ministry or thinking about going and they happen to see this, like, do you have anything to say to them?
You are brave. You can do it, and do not be afraid. There, do not fear man. Fear God, and understand what's going on, and understand the gravity of it. And you just need to leave. Like yesterday, I'm not going to say a name or anything, but I got in contact with somebody's father, and he's actually in the ministry. Um, he, I told him everything that was going on. He told the mother, he told sister as well, and the specific person's family drove all the way from Chicago
Hmm.
to Ohio to try to see if they could convince his son to come back home. This was last night. Son comes out, and they spend like 3 hours talking to him, trying to convince him to come back home. He didn't want to. They ended up
Oh, man.
leaving Ohio without him. And I don't want to mention any names,
Sure.
etc. But that's exactly what happened just last night.
That's crazy.
Just last night. And anyone that's listening from the ministry, or anybody that's in there right now that believe that they want to that they want to go, but they feel controlled, they feel like they have nowhere to go, just know that there is literally a group. We will help you. We will help you, whether it's financially, whether it's finding you a place to stay. It does not matter. All you have to do is reach out, and we
Yeah,
will help you. You
we'll
have
figure it
support.
out. Just get
Exactly.
out first.
100%.
We'll figure it out second. I know we've got a GoFundMe started, or we're starting one for people who are trying to get away. They need a plane ticket home. They need a hotel room for a night, whatever. Like, we're doing what we can. I'll throw in on that, of course. Just get away. Get away, and we'll help you get home, get safe somewhere. That's the next step. But you got to come out from under this control and hear what Gio is saying, and hear what all these other people from last night are saying. They were victimized. I've talked to 9 people now. That means there's 21 more confirmed that I haven't talked to. And there will be more until we get this guy locked up. So you got to leave. And you guys who are watching, you've got to help us spread the word, because this guy's a monster. And if he doesn't get brought to justice, this is going to continue. And it will be a travesty. So, bro, I'm grateful again for you. Thank you. Guys in the chat, just give it up for Gio. Show him some love. Show him just how proud you are of him for being bold and courageous. I know this is not easy to share, especially on this level, but it's what's necessary to bring this guy down. And again, man, I commend you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Winnings. I really
Yeah,
appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
absolutely, man. All right. All right. Well, we have more victims to hear from tonight. Just like last night, they're going to keep coming. And we've barely even scratched the surface. I was just saying in the previous interview, we've now heard that there are 31 confirmed victims. Our next guest will be Trent, and he was victimized by Murad at the age of 18. So without further ado, in the chat, please welcome Trent. Just let him know you're praying for him, you're standing with him. It takes a lot of courage and boldness and bravery to share these things publicly. And so, Trent, man, we're so thankful that you would come share your story. I know you were just telling me you've been waiting 4 years to say this.
Yeah, I've been waiting 4 years. Yeah, so I was 17 when I first got in contact with Murad. I was a senior in high school. He tends to target a lot of young people on TikTok specifically. Uh, I had just blown up on TikTok. Like I made a few videos about the Lord and I got a lot of attention and he seems to target that. And so he had DM'd me and he was just like, "Hey man, you seem like you're really on fire for Jesus and everything. I have a group chat with a lot of other Christian TikTokers who are on fire for God just like you and this and that." And unfortunately, at that time, I was very vulnerable because I had just left a church that made me feel unwanted. And I was praying for fellowship. And so I was thinking that, this was my answered prayer and everything. So I immediately said yes. Like, I did not hesitate. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this dude has 300,000 followers on TikTok, Ended up falling for that, unfortunately. Um, and so we would just do Bible studies like every single day, man. Like
Really? Like
literally.
every day?
Well, the only day that we didn't do it was probably Sunday because we went to church or whatever. Or
And how many of you are doing these Bible studies every day?
at the time it was maybe like 20 of us probably at the
Okay.
time.
I mean,
Like
so that feels pretty legit. You got 20 people meeting every day. It's like, oh, we got something going here.
yeah, and yeah, it was just something that we did like every day and it was really extreme, you know what I mean? Like it took me away from like my family and like my friends and whatnot
How
because
so? Like, how did that happen?
because like I said, it was every single day, like without missing. And it was just something that would go on like for hours and hours and hours. So I would just be locked in my room and everything. And then eventually it turned into this thing where he was trying to act as like a pastor towards us and everything and turn it into like an online church. And things began to expand and grow rapidly to the point where, we moved over to a Discord server. And then it became not just boys, but it became, young girls and everything as well. Uh, and and then a few months later, he started traveling and doing like mission trips with some of the guys and inviting them out and whatnot. And I really wanted to go, so we had made plans before I graduated high school that as soon as I would get out, that I would fly out there and everything. And my parents thought I was crazy and whatnot. But he would just tell us, like that's just the enemy. Scripture talking about being persecuted and whatnot. So it made sense. So I wasn't listening to anyone around me. And then as soon as I graduated high school, I was freshly 18. I flew out there like 2 days after I graduated. Flew out to Baltimore. That's where they were at the time.
Okay.
Uh, they I didn't have money to buy my ticket. A friend actually bought it for me. So
Wow.
yeah, and so I flew out there. He picked me up and everything. And
And how are you feeling at this time? Like, are you pumped? Are you hesitant? Like, had you had any red flags by this point? Or, did it just
uh,
seem
Ah, man. Okay, yeah, no, that's a really good question. Because honestly, there was a couple days prior to going, there was like YouTube videos that I had seen of other Christians like warning against, these kind of cults, I guess. But I don't know. I didn't listen. I was so blinded and encapsulated, especially with I guess with the prophecy and everything, because whenever someone's new, the moment you join, he makes like some prophecy over your life and tells you, that you're anointed, you have this great call on your life, and that you're meant to serve with them and everything. So like I'm thinking that this is finally like my purpose because I didn't know what my purpose was.
Right.
So I'm thinking, this is what God wants me to do, like for the rest of my life, kind of deal. So like, I'm very like locked in on this, and it's very hard to change my mind. So yeah, I had some skepticism, but overall, I mean, I was excited,
Yeah.
yeah, and I just went for it, and I want to say it wasn't until about like 6 months into it or so, because I had went in, let me see, I think it was May, or no, it was like the very beginning of June, right after I graduated. That's when I went, and it was August when we were in Richmond, Virginia. We were staying at a hotel. I was there's two beds, and I was with one other brother. He had his own bed across the room, and that was the only time that I had slept with Marab, because I was never considered one of his sons, or close enough to him like that. Because whenever he tried to father me like that, it always made me like feel like just like off and just weird. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I never liked that. And on top of that, unfortunately, he knew my previous trauma that I've already had sexually. So I guess that was like something that made me feel weird. It's kind of like a signal, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never let him get close to me like that. But that was the one time that there was an exception, and then the next day he was gonna fly out to New Mexico to see one of the other brothers and everything. So it was just for that one night. Um, and it was a very normal thing for him to be like touchy with like certain people. Like he would give massages to like certain people that were close to him, you know, uh, or they would do the same to him. So, I had gotten in bed and I thought he was already asleep and everything. It was late, and he had like kind of like gotten like a little close to me, and he like just like other people, he told me that he loves me and stuff. And he kind of like massaged me a little bit and everything, and I was just like, oh, well, like this is like what they all do, so it's probably not like a big deal.
Sure.
Um, so I just ignored it. I went to sleep, and I kid you not, I had like this weird experience where in the middle of the night before I woke up, it felt like I came out of my body. I don't know if that has to do with him touching me or anything. I'm not sure why, but I saw myself from a third person perspective. Um, and then I woke up, and his hand was on my genitals, and he was like squeezing it, like groping it, and I just like froze, especially because I already have trauma due to that, and
Right.
people who have trauma like with these things, they tend to freeze in these moments, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know if this was an accident or if he was just moving around and whatnot. But just like others have said, you don't want to think that way about your leader, like at all.
Right.
And I trusted him so much. I had told him like those personal things, so I would never think that he would go and do the same thing to me.
Right.
Um, and um, but yeah, and then the next day, I mean, like I woke up after he had already left and whatnot, and I did feel like a little weird and whatnot, but I was just trying to forget that it happened and just tell myself, oh, like, he didn't mean to do that, and I just try to shake it off. Um, it's very unfortunate realizing, a lot of these people, including myself, have had a lot of father issues and everything, and I feel like that's a big reason why, like, especially at that age, it's so easy to get encapsulated into something like this, and to look up to someone like this, and to put too much trust into them and whatnot, because deep down it's like we're looking for that father figure that we never had, and so it's very easy for
Yeah.
him to take advantage of that.
It's wicked, man. And I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking a couple of questions. So one, like when you had that out of body kind of experience, what did you see? Like, could you see what was going on?
It
Or,
was,
what was that like?
yeah, it was kind of hard to tell. It was kind of like, I mean, I saw like us, I saw the bed, but it was also very dark, so it was hard to tell what was actually happening.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was kind of like I felt kind of like frozen, you know what I mean? Like it was hard to come out of like that state, or like wake up from that.
Yeah.
But once I did is when I felt that. But it's a very hard thing to describe.
Yeah. So you wake up in the middle of the night, he's touching you. Is he like outside of your shorts or inside? Like,
Hmm. Yeah, so he's on the outside, but he's like squeezing it to the point where it's like you can feel like a lot of like pressure and
yeah.
everything, you know. Um, yeah.
And he's like, and one, I'm asking these questions like as a former cop who's done investigations, but
Of
two,
course.
I want people to hear enough stories. No one's given this guy the benefit of the doubt. This guy is a sicko. He needs to be in prison. He wasn't doing this on accident. So, how long was he squeezing you for that, while you were awake? And like, was he doing anything else? I know it's kind of gross, but like, did you see him doing anything else, uh, with his other hand? Or were you just like, did you kind of block that out, or
Yeah, so I want to say, like, as far as I know, after I woke up, I don't know how long he was doing it before I woke up, but once I woke up, he was doing it for a few seconds, and then I think he realized that I woke up because I like shifted it for a second.
yeah.
And then I froze, and then like he like slowly like moved like his hand away. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much all I had saw in that moment.
And that was the only incident that happened?
Yeah, that was the only incident that had happened.
Did you
Besides,
ever confront him about that?
yeah, multiple times, like through text, and we even had like some calls and everything, uh and I tried to publicly like say this like after I had left, which was in December 2021. And at the time, people were still deceived, and they just like mocked me. He would go on live stream, and he would even acknowledge the accusations, and he would just say that that we're just trying to bring up his past or something, or that we're just in offense or rebellion and whatnot, and we're just trying to attack them, and that we're outside of the will of God. I was even blacklisted after I left. They weren't allowed to contact me. Everyone had to block me, because I was trying to get in contact with people and let them know, like, hey, like this and that happened, like this is a call, like you need to leave, da da
Yeah.
da. Only a very small amount of people listened to me. I think maybe like three or four, and they ended up actually like leaving and not associating themselves with that anymore.
Gosh, man. And that's the common thing I'm hearing is he never denies it. He just gives excuses, or he apologizes or whatever. Like, what did he say to you? Did he say, I've heard him say, "Oh, a demon must have done it," or "I was asleep, I don't know what I was doing." Like, did he offer you any kind of
Right.
excuse?
Yeah, so I mean, like through text, I noticed he did this to a lot of other people. He would just very vaguely apologize for sin, but he would never clarify what the sin was. And when I specifically asked him, "What are you apologizing for? Are you apologizing for sexually assaulting me and others?" And he was never clear on that. He never responded when I said that. Um,
Because he doesn't want to incriminate himself.
yeah, of course. And there was a time on the phone as well where we had all acknowledged him. We all came together and everything. It was a Zoom call. It was recorded um, by Paula Lou, his leader, but he never wanted to give the recording to us after it was over. So he was covering Murad. But during that
So Paul
call,
Paul was covering
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So there is I've heard this, and I
yeah,
have a
yeah,
conversation lined up with Paul where I'm going to tell him straight up, like,
yeah.
if you bury this, I'm going to bury you. Like, you're going down with Murad. So are you saying that Paul has a recorded Zoom where Murad admits specifically to these things?
So I don't know if he still has it or not. This was like the summer of 2022, and he had basically apologized to every one of us individually after we all gave like our stories of what happened and whatnot. And he would try to dance around it. He would try to be very careful and crafty with how he would word things. He would say, if this did happen, then I'm sorry. I didn't know it happened. Da 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 da. Things like that. I've even had a recording of a phone call with him one on one as well in 2022, where I think he accidentally admitted that he did do that to me.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'll
Gosh,
have to
man.
send that to you at some point.
Yeah. Or send that to the other guy who's compiling all the evidence for the
Yeah.
FBI.
Right.
Which we're submitting some stuff today, which is pretty exciting. But man, yeah, this is wicked, and we're doing everything we can to bring him down. Is there anything else that you want to say, or you want to have people hear, just about your time? You've been waiting years to say this, so I want to make sure if there's anything else you want to share,
Yeah.
you've got the floor.
I just hope that if there's anyone that is still a part of this group or associating themselves with Murad, I just hope that they would take these stories very seriously, and that we don't want to see you get hurt either, and we don't want to see other people get hurt. And we've been trying to prevent this for years now. So, but yeah, justice will be served, and the Lord will get his vengeance. So,
Amen. And how are you doing in your walk, if you don't mind me asking? I'm sure this was
oh man.
very, very hard. I mean, how did you not walk away from the faith?
Oh man, I mean, it definitely wasn't a straight line, and it still isn't. It's been a struggle ever since. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Act like it hasn't been. It's definitely been really hard. A lot of ups and downs. And just trying to understand, why. Initially, when I left, there was a lot of like anger and trying to like understand like why would the Lord let this happen to me,
Right.
and things like that. But I learned not to blame that on God. Like it wasn't something that He directly, intended to harm me, or anything like that. Definitely reading Job definitely
Yeah.
helped me when it came to that. You know what I mean? And it's been a huge learning experience. I would say it's definitely been a huge learning experience, to be able to navigate and discern and help other people as well. So
Yeah. And I agree with that, man. I mean, I've gone to places where I felt like God called me there, and then I experienced horrific things. And, the question, the temptation is, God, why did you do that? Why did you lead me here to get crushed? And ultimately, I just submit to God and know His ways are higher than mine. And I understand too, like you said, don't blame God for Murad. Like Murad's the one who did all these bad things, but God sees it, and God promises that vengeance is His. God promises that He'll never leave or forsake us, and that ultimately one day we're going to be with Him forever in heaven, and we're not going to be carrying around the pain of all the trash that we went through and that people put us through, even people who were allegedly doing things in His name. You know what I'm saying? So just stay the course, man. Stay with us, and God will heal your heart piece by piece. Time does not heal all things, but God does. And I truly believe that. So I'm grateful for you being on here, man. Thanks for sharing your story, and we'll keep you in your prayers. Chat, just let Trent know how thankful you are for him being on here and for his courage.
absolutely, thank you for having me, Shane.
Absolutely, bro. All right. I cannot get over the bravery of these young men and even young women that we've had. Um, when I hear these things, I just get so mad. And I'm just grateful that God sees everything. I mean, I can't imagine a world without God where nobody's going to be held accountable. I'm grateful for that. Hey, listen, if you're watching, please make sure you're hitting that thumbs up, comment something for the algorithm, definitely share the video. Up next, we have Angel, who's going to be sharing testimony of being victimized, again, by Murad. It's important all these stories come out. When I say there's 31 confirmed victims, I want you to see name after name, face after face after face, so that you can see these are people, these are lives impacted, these are souls that have been placed in a position of great inner turmoil because of what was done to them. And when you hear their stories and you force yourself to listen, you understand the reality of how evil this man is. And we need that. It's a sobering thing to hear these testimonies, as hard as it is. And so without further ado, let's go over to Angel. All right, here I am with Angel. Angel, I know you had a very difficult time, to say the least, with Invasion Global. We'd love for you to just share your story. We've heard 10 people previous to you. We know as of right now there's 31 confirmed victims, so we've got 20 more. It's wicked, and we all just want to say and chat. Let Angel know in the comments, how grateful you are for his bravery and his courage. And I just want to tell you that too. I commend you because I know this is not easy. So with that being said, we'd love to hear your story.
Yeah, so my name is Angel. I'm 19. I'm 21. At the time I joined, I was 19. I had came from New Jersey all the way out to California. So it was a kind of spontaneous the way it happened, because I was, no, I was, I think I was reading my Bible. I was scrolling through. I was actually, no, I had on my TV, some music, some worship music. And then I received that Instagram message from Murad. I had never seen him. I had never, nothing. I had no idea who this guy was. I just knew he was credible because of his following. And so, he had reached out to me. I forgot. I'm not too clear on what exactly how it happened, but one thing led to another, and then we were on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call, and so this FaceTime call just was basically just him convincing me to join. At the time, I had just gotten a job, working at Amazon. Um, what else? I was towards speaking on the the salvation part. I had been saved for about a couple months, maybe a year.
Okay.
So I wasn't brand new to the aspect, to the concept, right?
Sure.
And so so I had some type of knowledge, some type of discernment. So at the time, I was obviously, I was excited. I was asking God for more. I was asking God for purification to refine me, and I felt like that had came at that time of me praying for that stuff. So it was basically an answer to my prayers. So we had gotten on the call. He prayed for me, um, delivered me from some things on the call. What else?
Would you say that
He
you were truly delivered looking back?
It was kind of forced. It was kind of forced,
Like,
but
did you see the fruit of deliverance later?
yes, like I saw the fruit of what he prayed for over me,
Yeah.
but as in like some crazy, how usually deliverance look.
Yeah, yeah.
So it wasn't nothing like that, and I feel like he also forcefully, in a way, tried to get me to speak in tongues, because I mean, well, I don't know. It just happened. I felt obligated to do it.
Okay.
So it was just that, and then what else? So then he got into the ministry, and how he wanted me to join, and how it was fire. I was being surrounded by fire, and at the time, I saw that Zeke was in there, and I had
Okay.
seen Zeke on TikTok a lot. I actually
And we
followed him.
spoke with him yesterday.
Yeah, I seen that. And so that's why I mentioned that, because I had seen Zeke. I had saw that it was like, he was there. I'm like, okay, I see this guy on TikTok, and I like what he preaches. It's really nice, and I want to be a part of that. I want to do stuff like that. I just never had the
Yeah.
courage to do it. And so
So there's some credibility there because Zeke is also there.
yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
I was convinced. I was like, okay, this is real. This is not, this is not nothing, it's no scam or anything like that. And so I saw, like I said, the page and who was in there. And so I was like, okay. But I had, like I said, I had things going on in my personal life, with jobs and things I was trying to look forward to studying and stuff like that, just basically leaving everything behind, a girlfriend and everything.
Wow.
So yeah, basically it was like a week of just pure, like, how do I say it? Pure guilt tripping in a way.
And just like pressure and
Yes,
was
yes,
he using like prophetic words to tell you that
yes,
like
yeah,
God's
yes,
God's telling you to come, and
yeah,
if you
yeah, yeah.
don't, like your
Like
life's
he'd be
gonna
like,
be
"Oh,
messed
is
up?
is like your mom in this, or did this happen to you, or like this," and so some things were true, some things weren't, and he would like if he was wrong, he would like manipulate it in a way to make it seem like he wasn't wrong,
Yeah.
but um
Classic.
yeah, 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 and so he was like. It's crazy because like I said, he gave me basically a week to decide. This was right before they went to Hawaii. So he wanted me to come to Hawaii with them. And so obviously that sounded nice. I was like, Hawaii, I've never been there. I've never even traveled
Right.
outside. And so I've never even been to California. So that even all of that was just mind-boggling. So to me, that was very attractive. It was very attractive, all of it. Obviously, I wanted to serve the Lord in every way possible. I was on fire, but I
Yeah.
wanted more fire, in the spiritual, in the supernatural sense. So basically, he guilt tripped me with a lot of verses in the Bible as well. It got to the point where he would literally post stuff on his page that was directed to me, but like it was like, it was an direct message
Yeah.
to
It's
me.
like he's posting a teaching that's directed at you.
Yes, yeah, it was so obvious, and I
Yeah.
knew it at the time. But at the time as well, like the verses were very powerful. So I was like, "Dang, man, this is." It's to the point where I felt the fear of the Lord. Like I was trembling before the Lord, and I was like, "Lord, I felt like I was gonna die if I didn't go." Literally,
Dude,
literally, I
that is
was
so
trembling.
wicked, bro.
I promise you, the Lord knows I'm not lying. I felt like I was going to die if I didn't go. I
Yeah,
felt
because
like,
your heart is pure. Like you
yes,
want to follow God. You believe this guy is being the voice of God.
yes. And
And
I
that's why
felt,
you
yeah,
felt that way, but that was his goal.
yes. And it's crazy. I've never experienced, even now, even after or before, I've never experienced a fear like that. It was so strong. And I've had like attacks, demonic attacks where like I dream stuff, and it's powerful, and I wake up still in that state.
Yeah.
But this was something else. I felt like literally I felt condemned if I didn't go. So it was like I just went, and then it was the day before that I decided to go. And so, well, one thing led to another, and obviously my mom and my parents were raised in the Word, so they didn't know about him. I didn't show them anything about him. I think actually, no, wait, I might be wrong, because I think he did speak to them. But what happened was, he bought the ticket and everything. And like I said, my parents were raised in the Word. They raised me in the Word. Not, but
Yeah.
like I said, it wasn't. I knew of God, but I didn't know God. I didn't
Yeah.
know Jesus.
You
So
hadn't decided to follow him yourself.
exactly. And so, well, I had decided to go, and obviously they supported it. They took me to the airport, and mind you, through the calls, this whole aspect, he was teaching me this whole aspect. I saw it in the live yesterday. He's teaching me this whole narrative of Elijah and Elisha. He
Yeah.
was
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh,
Yep.
like the fatherly thing, the spiritual father. But obviously, I
Yes.
took it as in like a mentor type of thing, you know. Like,
Sure.
okay, he's gonna be my mentor. He's gonna, teach me the spiritual way, the godly way,
Right.
guide me in the right direction. Teach me things I was ignorant to. Um, so yeah, like I said, everything looked very attractive. Everything sounded very attractive. So then I went to the airport, got on the plane, and mind you, they were in Cali at this time. This was the day before we went to Hawaii, or 2 days before.
Okay.
Then we got there. I got there. They picked me up from the airport, and well, we went to they all gave me a hug. They all embraced me. Um, And so, well, one of them are still there, and two of them are not, of the people who received me. And so, well, actually, two of them being Murad and somebody else. I don't want to say their name.
Sure.
And well, two that spoke, I think, yesterday. Well, at least one. Okay, but aside from that, I got to the place they were staying at, which was like, I guess, like a ministry friend
Okay.
that housed them in Cali. And so I got there. They welcomed me. They fed me. Stuff like that. Normal, right? So everything was normal, and then it was like, okay. Then it got the time to, it got later. It got later on. It was time to sleep and everything. Everybody was getting situated, and so that's when things started getting weird, because
And this is night one. This is your first
yes,
night.
night one.
Okay.
And I grew up in a very strong environment towards all this homosexual stuff. And I don't know if I could say that, but if
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to all this stuff, uh that, it's
Strong,
just
like
yeah,
it
I
doesn't
had a
fly.
strong disliking, a very strong
Like,
disliking
don't be
towards it.
gay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
Literally.
get it. I get
Um,
it.
and obviously, that's, to me. I never. That's just the way that was just my character. I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Um,
Like if your buddy held your hand too
no,
long on a handshake or hugged you
no,
too long, you'd be like, "What the
yeah, it was
heck,
like,
man?"
bro, what are you doing? Like,
Yeah,
leave me
exactly.
alone. And then, like, you know how in the world it's like kind of like people take it as like a playful thing, but even then I wouldn't,
Yeah, me
take part
too.
in that.
Yeah. No.
But so he was like, okay, the hugging for me was unnecessary and just was like uncomfortable. Even though I know there's nothing wrong with it, it was just, for me, it was just, I was like, okay, it was uncomfortable.
Right.
And so I had to get used to that too. He would like tell me like, oh, this is just godly love, this is like fatherly love and stuff like that. Like I said, he would take the spiritual father thing and like manipulate it into like you know
So that you'd be comfortable, or
exactly,
even if you're not comfortable, at least you would accept it
so I
because
would
you
embrace
believe that
it.
it's scriptural.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And
anytime
so
that you had a doubt, that was your fault because you just don't understand.
exactly, and I was being
Yeah.
spiritually ignorant, or I don't know, something. It was just
Yeah.
something. But it got to the point. Okay, so so we got to there. We were getting situated. Obviously, I still have my, like, morals or whatever. And I went to the bathroom, got changed. I was not gonna change in the room.
Right.
Uh, what else? And so that's when he sat down to talk to me. He was like, "Oh, you have to get delivered. This is gonna be like a period, like a very, like, there's gonna be a very strong environment. I want to help you, stuff like that." Which is what he told everybody. And I'm not gonna lie. There was a lot of godly things he did do.
Of
Like,
course.
obviously he helped me a lot. He taught me a lot. But there was a lot of wickedness going on behind it. Like, obviously, in the live yesterday was spoken by a couple of, witnesses of victims, which was basically that night. He would like he that night it was subtle. It was subtle. So we were sleeping. It was like, okay, I wanted to sleep, separated. Like, okay, you go on the other side, me on the other side. But he was like super close, and it was us two only.
In the bed.
It was a big bed. It was like I think it was a queen or king, something like that. And
Yeah.
he was like right next to me, all like, with his arm around my shoulder and stuff like that, like just hugging me and stuff. That night, he didn't touch me in my private part, but I told him, like, bro, what are you? That night, I told him, I'm like, what are you doing? I was like, yo, and that's when he was like trying to convince me, like, oh, I just love you. I love you a lot. I'm glad you're here, stuff like that. But then after that, the second night, that's when it started getting, you know, sexual. Uh,
What do you mean
that's
by
when
that?
now that I remember, I did sleep 2 nights before we went to Hawaii.
Okay.
And so that it's a little hard for me to say, but that's when he started like touching me in my area, and like, it was like he would just lay his hand there,
Like over top of your clothes?
over the top of my private, and over the top of the clothes, and so if we just lay there, he would just lay his hand there, and I would wake up, and I'm like paralyzed. I didn't know what to do. I'm just sitting there like, bro, what is going on? And so, like, literally, I would contemplate the whole thing. I'm like, no way, this is gonna be what I have to deal with the rest of like the whole time I'm here. So
Right.
I thought it was gonna change. I thought it was gonna change. Like I said, I was like, bro, what is going on? Like, okay, like I said, I was still very, very distant in all the huggy, touchy stuff.
Right.
And I saw how everybody embraced it. Like, everybody, all hugged each other and stuff like that. Everybody just, it was very brotherly love, right? And so I learned to embrace it as well. And then we went to Hawaii and stuff like that. And oof, I would see things like this is more talking about like the discipline stuff.
Yeah.
I saw things that I haven't even heard of in the military. Like, like people would literally go nice. Like, I at least, like, from my ignorant knowledge, that in the military you at least have that respected time to sleep, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets,
Yeah,
even
they
though,
have to give you a certain amount of sleep, within a certain amount of time frame.
exactly. And sometimes people wouldn't even get that, So literally, I was literally stuff like, dang. And then people would be exhausted. Like, even I would be exhausted from, like I said, like like the paralyzation of the fact that he was touching my private.
He's
And
still doing it at this point?
yeah. This was just the third night.
How
And
can I ask you, the first time that you woke up and you see this,
yeah.
does he continue to do it? And
Yeah.
do you say anything,
No.
or
No,
what
I
kept
didn't
you
say.
from saying something or from shifting or moving over? Like, I think that's probably the burning question for a lot of people. Not that you did anything wrong, but like, explain what that paralyzation is like, or like what kept you from, turning over and like socking this guy, or being like, bro, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah.
You better tell me that was an accident.
Yeah. So what kept me from that is obviously just just like I said, people idolatrize. How do you say it?
I
Idolize him.
idolized.
Yeah, people idolized him, and so it was like a very. It wasn't even. It was crazy because it's like the fear of the Lord turned into the fear of Murad, and it was like literally that. So, because like I said,
Wow.
he was very, 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 very harsh with the disciplines. Very. He had sometimes he would have some grace and some mercy, but it was
Yeah.
very, very harsh.
So are
Like,
you thinking like this is just part of fatherly affection or something, or like, even
exactly.
though it's like your privates?
And also at that time, I thought it was just an accident that his hand was specifically there. Because, like I said, he wouldn't move; he would just lay it there.
Sure.
But then it started happening every single night, and I was there for like about 4 months.
Wow.
in the ministry, it would. I promise you, not one night. Because I slept with him from day one to the last day. I slept with him every single day,
Why
and
didn't you try to find another place to sleep?
because like I said, I saw the sleeping arrangements for the other people that were there, and it was horrible. Literally, I was the only one sleeping in the bed. Everybody else was
Sure.
sleeping on the floor, sleeping on couches and stuff like that. So I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna just be grateful, not say anything, because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. I didn't want to seem appreciative, like all
And so
like prideful.
because he's not like actively doing something, his hand's just resting there.
Mind you, this is just the first night. I haven't gotten to later on.
I see.
So this was just the first night. It was just subtle.
Okay.
The first couple of weeks, like 2 3 weeks, it was just subtle. Like I said, it happened every single night, and at times. So wait, let me not jump anything. So like I said, I was seeing the discipline, seeing all this stuff, and that put fear in me. Literally, the first week I was there, I forgot what happened. I think we were late on something. It was nothing crazy, but we were late on something, and all of us had to fast forcefully. Like we couldn't eat that day until
Wow.
the next day. And that day I was already fasting, intermittent fasting, and I was gonna wait until dinner to break it, but I couldn't because he told me that nobody could eat. And so it was very unspiritual because that's I mean nobody's supposed to be forced to fast.
No,
And so
not at all.
yeah, and so that's what that also struck me. I'm like, dang, yo, this is what ministry is like. This is what evangelism is like. So I would like that. I was new to that world of the supernatural and stuff like that. So I was thinking this was normal because nobody
Right.
said anything, nobody complained. Everybody was just like, dang, okay, wow, now we gotta
Sure.
do this.
I think that helps paint a picture for people listening. Like, because everybody else is doing it and
Yeah,
no one is voicing opposition, and because you're, spiritually mature,
yeah,
and because this guy has been elevated to, like you said, many idolized him because he's this leader, he's this
yeah,
prophetic guy, he's the voice of God. And because you've got this fear of, if I walk away from this, my life's going to be destroyed, that's what kept you in a position that, looking
exactly.
back, you're like, bro, I should have just walked out the door.
Exactly.
But you
Literally
can't
that.
see it when you're in it because you're literally worried, if I leave this, I could die, I could wreck my whole life, right? So
Yeah,
I want to clear that up for people listening, because I'm sure there's people that are like, just get out of the bed and leave. And you're like, it's not, you've been brainwashed by this guy intentionally because he wants
yeah,
to keep abusing you. So
yeah,
just to
yeah.
give some context there. Okay, tell us, how it escalated.
So, okay, so it was more like I could see there was a level of favoritism towards me in the time I was there. Because, like I said, he would be harsh to the others, but to me, he would have a little bit more grace,
Hmm,
more like mercy. Like there was things he would do to others that he just simply wouldn't do to me in like the
sure.
harsh way, you know. Like I remember somebody was told to fast for like a week. It was stuff like that. Like I was never told to. Somebody was forcefully told to fast for 3 days, and I remember that person also left before I did. I'm not gonna speak his name, but he also went through that harsh. That was the first week I was there. That was in Hawaii,
Wow.
and we were only there for a week as well. And so we did everything right. Like I said, I was always with him. I was basically his arm bearer. And well, that's actually the title he gave me. And so I was with him everywhere. If most of the time it was just me and him, or me and him and somebody else, but it
Yeah.
was always me and him. And so I was always with him. And so, like I said, sometimes he would like offer to buy me food and stuff like that, which is something else he like promised me. But obviously, when I got there, it was like a whole different story. I had to fend for myself.
Yeah.
And so he promised me, oh, I was gonna take care of you, buy you food, buy this, da, da, da. But obviously, with time, that just went away, like
Yeah.
first week. And so after that, I started to, having to do stuff myself, having to, go out and evangelize, and stuff like that. I was very nervous, obviously, because I was new to that. But that was just in Hawaii. Then we went back to, I think, I don't want to be wrong about this. I think Cali. We went back to Cali. Everything was still the same with the sleeping and everything, and the touching and stuff like that. But then after that, I think we went to Ohio. No, I think we went to New York. Yeah, we went to New York. That was the time where I felt more comfortable because it was bunk beds. Nobody slept with anybody. He slept by himself. I slept by myself. I slept above him though. Like I said, I was always with him.
Yeah.
Even when we couldn't sleep together, I was above him in a bunk bed. So everything, then New York was the only time I felt kind of normal. But like I said, something was off with even Paul. It was like I said, something was off from the day one, but
Yeah.
I was just forced, like obligated, kind of to like guilt trip to just go along with it because everybody else did. So, I would see like there was actual, knowledge of the Bible, or everybody was speaking like, stuff that made sense. And so, obviously, I just went along with it for the longest, and so then after that, we went to Ohio. We went to Ohio, and Ohio was when stuff started getting actually like out of
Yeah.
hand. That's
Tell me
when I would
about
wake
that.
up. Literally, there was nights where I would wake up and he would like be masturbating me like subtly. Um, you know, he would like get up, like I was sleeping to the side. He would get up on my back, and I would feel his penile, like his
Like an erection.
yeah, I would feel an erection. I would feel it like pulsing on my back and
Oh
like
my gosh,
on
man.
my butt, I could say. And so like he would literally like dry hump me in his sleep. Or in his sleep, right?
Yeah, yeah. He says he was asleep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
God, dude.
But like I said, I never addressed it because, like I said, it was all so paralyzing to me.
Well, and
And
by this point, you're deep into it. So
exactly,
you've already been you've been groomed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
Literally, I
grooming
was
you.
brainwashed.
He didn't he didn't try to hump you the first night.
Nah, he
He
waited a while.
got your guard down. He got you to question your own motives. He got you to question your own discernment,
Yes,
everything, to where when that night comes that he is doing this, you're, to you, it's the same as him giving you a weird hug. It's just like, oh, I guess this is just part of it.
yeah, and it was weird because he was talking like a like weird voices, like like it's kind of like not embarrassing, but it's kind of like I don't know. He would just be all like very weird. I don't know. It was just so weird
Like
because even his
sensual.
way of not in the way he spoke. And the way he spoke is more like he would actually. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if anybody said this, but he would make comments like, "Oh, like very like out of hand comments. Like if he saw a girl with a big butt, he was like, "Oh, she got a," like he would do stuff like that. And sometimes he would curse and just like just like brush it off. Oh,
Right.
like he
What
would
the
do
heck,
worldly
man?
things that we just would just find funny, ha ha ha, like and
Right.
but yeah, it was like, and then he was speaking like a weird like a teddy bear voice. Like I don't know how to explain it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm talking about?
It just
Like a
sounds
very
weird, man.
yeah, like bro, it was weird, like like on some I don't know, it was just very creepy.
So
It's
how many times did he do this to you where he's like, did it get more intense than that? I mean, that's pretty intense.
nah, I mean no, I mean that's the most intense guy. He
So
never
he's just, and how many times did that happen to you?
every night since he started doing it, every single night.
He would dry hump you every single night.
Yes, dang near, yeah.
So what caused you, as we kind of wrap up here, because we've got more people
Yeah.
that are going to be sharing, what caused something to flip in your mind where you're like, oh, holy crap, like I'm being sexually abused right now?
God, he would give me dreams. He started giving me dreams. I started asking him, I'm like, Lord, something is wrong. Something is really, really, really wrong with Paul, with him. It was with Paul too, because I would see like he was always with girls and always with, I don't know, it was just so like awkward. It was
I'm
like
still trying to
oh
figure out what's up with Paul. Like I'm hearing a lot of people drop things here and there. I haven't heard anything,
yeah, because it was
solid
basically he
yet.
basically was the same thing as Murad, but with girls, with young women and stuff like that.
Well,
And
if you know
so
any victims of Paul, please send them my way, because I'm only hearing these little, I didn't like him, I didn't feel comfortable, circumstantial stuff.
I couldn't say names for exactly, because I mean,
Sure.
like I said, I didn't live with him. I wasn't in his ministry exactly, but when I was there, I could see things like he would move weird. He'd be like all like he would be more kind to the ladies, kind to the guys too, but it would like be a different type of I
And
don't know.
this is Murad's like spiritual covering.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It's
So
Paul.
so imagine we had the fear of Murad, like, and we had even more fear of Paul because he was like, he was like, the big deal. He was like the big Don or whatever. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. It's very weird.
So yeah,
But
tell us how tell us within the next few minutes, like, how did you come out of it? What happened? How did you leave?
yeah.
And
So
like, yeah,
it's crazy because we were, like I said, we were still moving. We had flown to Cali. I think, yeah, we had flown to Cali. We had done this road trip. I'm trying to get memory because it was like 2 years ago. But we had flown to Cali. Actually, I think from New York we went to Cali. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but I know there was a road trip from Cali to Ohio. And in that road trip, obviously, it was just we had to do stuff in the car, like assignments and stuff like that. To the point, I was in the back one time and it was so hot. I thought I was dang near suffocating. And so, yeah, it was tough. It was like it was a very harsh environment overall.
yeah,
But what led me to get out of that it had to do with the harsh environment, but also had to do with, obviously what's going on behind the scenes with me and him only.
yeah,
Personally, like we would go out and like be all day out going selling flowers, evangelizing while he was at home playing the game, playing PlayStation. Like I know because sometimes I would stay with him. Like I said, it was he treated me differently. Like
yeah.
he had more like love towards me, I guess. Yeah, or affection. But he would literally stay just playing the game or just doing some, I don't know, something that has nothing to do with anything.
Right.
While we're out there getting money, stuff like that. And he
So
would
that stuff is
keep,
starting to kind of get your
yeah, and I'm
attention.
like, bro, what is going on? And there was a time where I was very, very, very sick, because of I have very strong allergies, and obviously that's when I stayed with him the most. And like I said, that's when I see he would just make music, he'd play the game and stuff like that. I would just stay in the living room or whatever, like do nothing, or do an assignment that I had to do or whatever. And while everybody else was doing, selling flowers, evangelizing, raising money, and he would keep like 95% of it. And like I said, he wasn't doing anything. Like he was
Yeah,
just playing the game. And I saw that stuff. I'm like, bro, how is there anybody supposed to make a living? How's anybody? Everybody has to buy their own stuff.
yeah,
But how? We had no funds most of the time for it. And people would be like, "Yo, can you buy this for me?" We would ask in between each other if we could buy each other stuff. It was to that point. When we had, it wasn't like we weren't making money. We weren't making enough money. It wasn't like that. We were making a lot of money,
right.
but it was just all towards Mod. And like I said, he would buy stuff for his parents, for Paul, for this, for that. Obviously, some money would go to the events we would do and stuff like that.
Sure.
But most of the time, it was just you talk about he wants this car or this car, it's his dream car and stuff like that, and just I don't know, just a whole bunch of like money stuff. And he's very selfish in that aspect. Very, very selfish.
Man.
And he would have no type of consideration for us in that aspect. But leading on after that was well, I would, like I said, the dreams and stuff like that. I would ask God to give me discernment because, like I said, stuff was going on with Paul, stuff was going on with him, and there would be verses, like direct verses that would hit on to what was going on. And it was just like, dang, it's boom, 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 boom. And so the Lord was like, there was times where I would go out and I would look to the clouds and I would see a cross in the cloud. Like it was like the Lord letting me know, because I was crying outside. I would go outside and cry because I was just so like suffocated with everything that was going on. And I felt like I was just trapped. I literally, I called my mom, I felt trapped. I
Man.
told her I felt trapped. I felt, like I had no way out. I had no escape. have to forcefully do everything that he says, and all these punishments. We would literally sometimes have to write a whole Bible thing near, like, obviously I'm exaggerating, but it was like
Yeah.
that much. We would sometimes have to write a whole Bible in like a day or 2 days, and it was just extreme things. And if we didn't do it, we couldn't eat for that day, or he would kick us out the thing or whatever.
Right.
And sometimes he would have mercy with the punishments if we didn't do the disciplines, because the disciplines were the task, the punishments were like the consequences for not completing the disciplines.
Sure.
And so
and that's what we're hearing a bunch,
yeah.
From everybody else. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to cut it short because I've got someone in the waiting room that needs to share their testimony too. But bro, I just want to tell you, I'm grateful that you came on here to share your testimony. Know that your voice is being heard, and we're talking to the authorities, federal, local. We're trying to get national media attention on this right now. My team's working on it. And so I just commend you again for coming on here and being brave. I want you to know it's not your fault what happened. I'm sure you've heard that, but I want you to hear it again. Like, it isn't your fault. And God is going to have justice done in this situation.
Amen.
And your heart and your mind can be healed through God. And so I just want to encourage you to keep running after God. And because I know that, it's a roller coaster of a process coming out of this. So just know I'm with you. Guys in the chat, let him know. Let him know that you're with him. Tell him, you're thankful for his voice. Support him. And, bro, just know that we're praying for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say one last thing.
Yeah, please.
This is vital, because before I left, I heard people saying yesterday in the live, as I was the night before I left, which I had lied to him. I'm not gonna lie. I had lied to him and said that I was gonna get my license, which I was gonna do, but that was like my excuse to escape all of that. So I was gonna stay with my mom for a week, get my license, stuff like that, and but that night before, they had all sat around me. Most of the guys, I think some even spoke yesterday. Most of the guys at that time were speaking to me, trying to convince me to stay. Because he was like, because I felt like they knew something was off. Like, they was like, oh, you're gonna go with your mom for a week, you're gonna have temptations to stay and stuff like that. And they were all just basically convincing me to stay.
Sure.
And like I said, I was not going for it. Like, in my head, I was already decided, because all the signs that God was giving me, it was like, yeah, man, I gotta go. I'm not gonna last long here. And like I said before this, I was already saved. I had discernment, but I had woken up again after all of that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I'm glad that you did, man. And we're trying to keep more people from joining stuff like that. So again, thanks for your voice, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. Wow. Another horrific testimony. I mean, night after night being victimized. You can imagine what this does to your mind. Someone that you're supposed to be able to trust, someone that is supposed to be fathering you, and they are assaulting you. This stuff is wicked. It's disgusting. And I pray that this just gives you more of a passion and conviction, one, to help us spread this word, and two, to pray for these young people, because while they might be out from under his influence, they have to wrestle with, renewing their mind and continuing to trust God, even when they've got these hard questions of like, why did you allow me to be in this situation? And again, I think we've done a decent job of explaining how that happens, but I just want you to remember, when you see their faces, when you hear their stories, commit to praying for them, because for many of them who have come out from this, the journey begins now. And with that being said, we're going to talk to another victim, Jordan. So without further ado, let him know in the chat you're grateful for him and his bravery. Jordan, thanks for being with us today, and we'd love to just hear your story.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on here, and just thank you for actually putting forth the effort to spread everything that's been going on. We've been dealing with this for a few years now.
Yeah.
A little bit of background with even just like what's happened and leading up to this point, like in 2023 is when, or actually last year, 2024 is when I put out a police report in Dayton against him. And then I started calling people and asking them to put out police reports because the police told us, they couldn't do anything because of the time period and also because of the different states things happening. And one of them was talking to me very nonchalant. And I was like, okay, so if your
Really?
gets molested, so what would you do to make sure that it goes federal? And then he told me just get everyone to make those police reports, but then nothing happened from it. But yeah, so
Well,
I'm
that's happening now. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
I'm
happening now.
very happy about that.
What did he mean, by the way, real quick, about the time period? What did he
So
say?
yeah, he was saying, oh, because it happened, a year ago, or it happened, a certain amount of time ago that it didn't, there was nothing that they could do.
No, that's bull.
Yeah.
Yeah. The statute of limitations is definitely not a year or 2 years or 3 years. With
Yeah, and
sex
that's
crimes,
what we
it's
were told.
usually several years, up to 10 years. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we were told. Even I think Ezekiel came on yesterday, and he was 16 at the time of what happened to him. And I had him
right.
go and call the police in Virginia, and they visited the place that it happened, but then they never followed up. So
Well, yeah, we're going to handle this federally like it needs to be, and I believe we'll see justice. But let's hear your story, man. I'm sorry that we ran long on the last one, but we want to make sure we get to hear what you have to say. You've been waiting, to get your story out there. So go ahead.
For sure. Yeah. So back in 2020 is when I gave my life to Jesus. I was fresh in the faith, really loved God, obviously still do. But that's when Murad reached out to me. I'd start posting on TikTok, and he reached out and wanted to talk or something about like Bible studies. And at the time, I was like, I don't really know if I'm trying to connect with anyone, but I didn't really have too many Christian friends at all. I was mainly doing stuff alone and then with a small group. So I got on the phone with him, and he started talking about the word of God. He started speaking about prophecy, all these things that, I hadn't experienced before. So it was just really shocking to me. And then eventually, he talked about the discipleship home that he was at, and this was still back in 2020, and how they were starting a school and all these different things. And I believed that God put on my heart to actually go and travel and work with them. Now, this time I didn't know anything about his past, nothing. So I go out to Kentucky. I had a scholarship to go to school. I decided not to do that and to go and just start
Wow.
preaching. And so I left home. This was December 31st of 2020. And I joined them, went to the church there. It was awesome. Like God was moving big time. Like it was really, really a crucial time for growth in my faith. But yeah, so I'm at this discipleship home, and I didn't know this, but later on I find out that just a couple weeks, I think, before he had joined that house, he was actually invited there to be restored because he had fallen into sin. He was smoking weed. He had, done stuff at his school in the
Yeah.
past, and I had no clue about this. So he was doing these Bible studies, but just a couple weeks ago, he was, smoking weed.
And expelled for like weird, controlling, and homosexual behavior.
Yes, like he sexually assaulted two young men. I think some of them were under the age of 18 as well.
My
And
gosh.
their
Man.
parents wanted to press charges, but I think they never went through with it. So yeah, so we were evangelizing. Everything was fairly good. And then a couple months went by. The pastor who was over the home, who is now like really, really helping us to actually get this stuff out, Pastor Don, he kicked Murad out. He said, you know what, you have to go. He was in Nigeria at the time, and it seemed like Murad was trying to um, build this Bible study group out, and Pastor Don didn't want him to. And at that time, I didn't know what was going on. So I'm just thinking, oh, he's trying to control him, because that's what I'm being told. He's trying to stop him and steal his ministry, all this stuff.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm leaving too, because I came from Murad inviting me. And Murad was saying, okay, we're going to travel, we're going to do outreaches, all these things. So me and another brother went with him. But that's the first time we heard of anything weird about him, because the pastor called our parents, because he has connection with our parents, and tells them, hey, there was some weird sexual things that happened in his past. And I'm
Oh
just
man.
thinking, okay, this was years ago. He's repented, like,
Right.
and I didn't know the extent of what
And he
happened.
kind of props it up too. He's like, I've been delivered of this. And
Yeah.
so it's a spiritual way of trying to cover
Oh, yeah.
something that should have put him in jail,
Yeah.
honestly.
And that's why I had to stop talking to him. Even after all this happened, it was exposed. He would try and call me. I just blocked him, because once he gets on the phone with people, I would notice, they're no longer in contact with me, because, he's repented, all this stuff, and the
Man.
manipulation is just so heavy. So fast forward, we're doing outreaches. Everything was actually really good. Um, there's times where kind of like other people said, where he seemed a little weird, but I didn't think anything of it.
Sure.
Like he would for example, like we'd be in the room, and he would ask, or he would go and just start massaging my shoulders. And like we were chilling, I was like, okay, it's kind of weird, because it's like, why do you want to do this? And he would try and explain it or whatever. And I was just like,
Right. The whole
okay.
father thing, Elijah, Elisha, all
Yeah,
that.
and I was at that time I was against a lot of that stuff, but I was just like, okay, this is kind of strange, but whatever. He hadn't done anything weird really. Um, so then we were traveling. We had joined Paul Liu, which was his mentor, his leader,
Yeah.
which I'd love to talk about that eventually. But anyways, we start traveling with him and Murad, and he knew his past as well, I believe. So then we go to Dayton. This was after like our first couple outreaches. We go to Dayton, and we're going there because we're gonna do some more outreach there. So when we get to Dayton the first day, we got a hotel, and it was just one hotel room. There was maybe 6 of us.
Hmm.
So we decided to sleep on the beds. And I was just like, it's whatever. I'm gonna sleep, get up, I'm gonna stay in my corner, and then we're out of the hotel tomorrow. And it's better than sleeping on the bed with no covers or anything. I mean, sleeping on the floor with no covers or anything. So I start to go to sleep, and then I feel him like grab my arm, like trying to massage my arm. I'm like, what the heck? Um, and I just think it's like, dude, that's weird. It gets really late, and then I feel him, and usually I'm a heavy sleeper, but I feel him reach over his arm over towards my private parts, and actually like put his hand there, and I ripped his hand off. I moved him. I'm like, what the heck? Like, is this dude asleep? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So then after that, I'm kind of shook. Like I
Yeah.
feel like a little paralyzed, because I'm like, what's going on? Because at that point, I've never like there was never any really weird stuff going on with him or anything. So I'm like, I'm thinking this guy loves Jesus so much. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm thinking, okay, is he asleep? Like, what's going on? And then so then he stopped. Like he after I pulled his arm off and everything, like nothing happened. And then I fell asleep. But like I said, I'm a deep sleeper, but like I believe that I knew what happened. So I fell asleep, and then I started having these really like demonic, like sexual dreams. And I woke up and I had a wet dream. And I got up, and I felt like something happened. Like I just felt it spiritually and physically. And I got up, I went outside, sat down on the stairs, and I was just honestly crying. I was like, man, like, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, did something happen? And in my head, I'm thinking, okay, was he asleep? Like, what happened? Um, and it was easy for me to just think, okay, maybe I was just in my head, maybe I was just asleep and I had a dream, whatever. And then when he wakes up in the morning, everyone gathers around. He's like talking to me like everything is normal. Like, he's asking me like, what's wrong? Like, what's up with you today? Like in front of everyone. And I'm like, okay, so like,
Yeah. You're like, what the
did he
heck, bro?
sleep? Like, it's like when I moved his arm, was that it? Was he just asleep? And I never mentioned anything, and I should have. Like, I look
Well,
back.
and you couldn't tell for sure, right? So
Yeah.
For the people that are watching and you know, you maybe don't know, and you know, trigger warning is kind of uncomfortable, but what you're saying is the succession that happens. You're laying with him you're laying in bed, he's touching your arm. Then you start to go to sleep, you feel his hand come over towards your genitals and you move it away forcefully.
Yeah.
Then you fall asleep and you wake up because you have, you know, ejaculated into your clothes and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Right? That's, you know, there's, because I think even there's people that are like, they might think wet dream and like, oh, you just had a sexual dream. No, it's like where you actually have an orgasm. And you're thinking, I think that someone messed with me.
Yeah.
I think he was messing with me in my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's just trying to act like everything's okay. Now, you know, to play on the other side, that's going to be really hard to prove that he did it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the pattern, when you look at what's
Exactly.
going on, I mean, it's like you're connecting the dots. Did that ever progress or happen again, or?
So I'm like, at that point, I was a little bit more mature than some of the other people, at least in the area of like being like hex no to certain things.
Yeah,
And I'll get into that a little bit later. But after that point, I was just made up my mind like I'm not going into bed with any man ever again in my life.
right.
Like that was just what I made up right then and there. So then following that, I thought that I was the only one who that ever happened to. And this was in 2021. And so then like we just move on. Sometimes I thought about it, I was like, man, what the heck? And I just had to look at him. I was praying just to look at him in a pure light and everything because I didn't know exactly what happened. So from that point on, I never slept on the bed with him or anything like that. And then fast forward how this escalated is at the end of 2021, on December 31st of 2021 is when I was leaving. I was going to start traveling with his leader, Paul. And, you know, during this time period of 2021, I'm seeing people come in and leave, come in and leave. And some of them so abruptly and him talk so badly about everyone who left, like as if they were, you know, really separating from God's will. There's someone who I talked to later on. He told me like something that happened to him, like similar, that was really bad for him.
Yeah,
And I remember the day when he was leaving. I remember Murad literally pulling me and another friend of mine into the room and being like, hey, like we need to pray because like he wants to leave and stuff. And you know, I don't believe it's God's will and all these things. And I remember like thinking, oh, I wonder why he wants to leave, you know? But Murad's over here trying to get everyone to convince him to stay and pray for him, calling for everyone to not eat and pray and fast so that he's like whatever. And I'm just like, okay, this like seems really strange. And
right.
he leaves, and then he's over here talking trash, like making us like think like this person's so bad. And I get on a call with him in 2023 and hear his story. So there's a lot of moments like that.
Yeah, where you find out they're leaving because they were victimized.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
what Murad does is make them out to be villains because they don't want to stay.
Yeah, exactly. So then when I leave and just start traveling in 2021 at the beginning, I mean 2022 at the beginning, I went to Honduras for a couple weeks, then I came back, and then me and two other brothers who we started our own ministry together, me, Emmanuel, and Gideon. We started traveling with just Paul. We were doing a tour from the East Coast all the way to California, and then we were planning on going to Japan, like just us three. So we do that tour. It was good. You know, everything was great. And then we head to Japan and they told us, and I was so glad. I'm so blessed, even like looking back at it, because they never did this with anyone else. They said, hey, you guys can go. Don't use our names. Don't use our ministries. You guys do your own thing. And like looking back on, I was so happy because it's like, you know, we were able to just separate ourselves at that moment
Right.
but still have communication with them. So once we got to Japan, maybe a week went by, somebody else calls me and we're talking about something completely different. And then he tells us his story of what happened to him. And at that moment, it took me back and I was like, oh no, like this happened to more than just me.
Yeah.
And, you know, this must have not been an accident. And his situation was similar to mine. So technically it could have been, you know, dream, whatever, but he still,
Yeah, I don't believe that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
After listening to multiple people and what happens, you know, in the police, we call it the totality of the circumstances.
Hmm.
And when I look at, you know, I've talked to 11 people now or 12, and when 5 of them say, I woke up, you know, with an erection and I had an orgasm, and he had been trying to already touch your genitals.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, that you didn't have a wet dream. Like he, you know, forcefully masturbated you while you were asleep, and that's why you woke up.
Yeah.
Like he did this, and it's wicked, bro. It's just disgusting,
Yeah.
and you know he needs to be in prison because of it.
Amen. Yeah. So then he told me that, and immediately I was like, okay, I'm telling his leader, Paul, like, yo, this is going on, this is going on. And then other person comes out and says that, oh, this happened to me. And he also thought he was asleep or whatever. So then, but he actually confronted him about it, and that's what he told him, right? So we got on a Zoom call with Paul, um, me, a couple other brothers who had got hurt, and then Murad, and then Gideon and Emmanuel were with me, of course. So when we get on this call, he apologizes for everything. He takes accountability that it could have happened, but doesn't take the full accountability that like he's purposely like doing this.
Right.
And basically, they come to terms by saying, okay, never gonna sleep in a room with anyone again. And also, like, you gotta step down from ministry for an extended period of time. So I'm thinking, okay, this is, at least that's being honored at least, and Paul's gonna deal with the rest because
Yeah.
I'm thinking he's recording this like for police or for whatever he needs to do as a minister of the gospel, 45 years old. So then he records that, and I'm thinking he's doing that for that purpose, but looking back on it, it seemed like he was doing it just to protect himself. Now we continue on from there. We're just doing our thing and hoping, that everything's being situated. We come back from Japan. We're training churches, all this stuff. And then we went to a conference that he was hosting with a lot of our friends. And everything seemed good. It seemed like things were more situated. And so after that, moved to Cali, got married in Canada. And then this is when Zeke called me. I think it was Zeke who called me, or somebody called me, and I heard Zeke's story. And I was like, oh, this is blatant, outright,
Right.
like there's no like,
This is sexual abuse.
yeah. And
Yeah.
he premeditated this one. I was like, oh, heck's not. So I start calling people. Like I start calling everybody. I get like 20 plus people who tell me the same thing happened to them. And then I think I started reaching out to the leaders that are in Glorious Destiny because Paul wasn't doing anything. And that's Paul's ministry, Paul Lou. He wasn't doing anything. So I'm like, okay, the Bible is telling me, that we need to expose this to the church because of these people being leaders, and Paul's not doing it. So I feel like I have the responsibility now. So I start calling all the leaders of Glorious Destiny so that they know, at least reaching to the church and some of the people who knew him. And then he gets heated with me, like heated.
Paul does.
Yeah. And he starts, I sent him a message. I sent him 1 Corinthians 5, which talks about the son who slept with his father's wife and how, he judged from afar, kick him, remove him out of the church. He says, oh no, you have to read, 2 Corinthians where they restore him and all this stuff. And I'm like, he's still leading a group of young men who he fell with and all these things. Like, that makes no sense at all.
Right.
So that's
blatant cover up, man. I mean, that's spiritual manipulation. And to hear that from Paul, I've been hearing people hint at that, but I'm in direct contact with Paul right now, and I'm being pretty straight up with him. Like, you better give me this, this, and this, or you're gonna go down.
Exactly. And so that happens, very confusing. And so I'm like, okay, I need to contact different pastors. So I contact Pastor Don because obviously he knew him. He was the one trying to help get him restored outside of, being a leader in ministry. trying to get him restored. So we got on a phone call with Murad, and I'm trying to figure out, is this still going on? Right? Because he's saying that he repented and he's stepping down from like certain like not being in the rooms with them and stuff, but not stepping down from ministry.
Right, right.
So we go on a call with Pastor Don gets on a call with him and merges me on there because mind you, Murad blocked me and stuff. He doesn't want to talk to me because he doesn't want accountability.
Right.
So I get on the call. I'm like, hey, Murad. And he's like, oh, like he starts talking about like repentance and how he went through all this deliverance and stuff. And I'm like, I know that somebody just got molested last week. And he pauses.
Wow.
And he like pauses for like a good minute. And then he says, like, yeah, I think I know like what you're talking about. I think I know who you're talking about. And then we start going in like, you have to step down from ministry. If you don't, we're going to expose everything. You need to leave those young men because that's where you're doing all this stuff with.
Right.
And because he was scared in the moment, he agreed to leave. He agreed to go to Pastor Don and leave everyone who was there to run and do what they were doing. And then right after that, he just disconnects from us and doesn't say anything. So at that point, I'm, like fumed, and I start telling Paul more about this stuff. Then later on, I start getting text messages about Paul. I get a video sent to me of him changing in front of one of the girls. I get pictures of notes taken where he's, telling them what he wants in a wife, and she's like 19 years old, asking people on the team like, oh, have you ever experienced an orgasm before? All these crazy things.
This 45-year-old guy's talking to teenage girls like this?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Multiple times, multiple instances. Are you a virgin? Have you experienced this? Multiple instances. And that's when I'm like, okay, now it makes sense. He's covering up someone who's doing something similar to him.
Right.
And they can't hold each other accountable because they're both doing the same nonsense.
Right.
So he supposedly disconnects from him. And this is when things got weird. He came down to Phoenix, which is where I'm at. We run a store down here and everything, and where we're doing ministry work. Paul comes down to Phoenix for like 2 days. He brings 2 of the girls from the ministry who are younger. The moment he leaves, the day he leaves, I text him. I'm like, hey, like you're traveling with 2 young girls. Like, I think this is a little weird. It looks like that's not avoiding the appearance of evil. I was trying to like give him advice. Like, this doesn't seem right. And then he calls me and goes off about how he's done with the opinion of man and that was left behind years ago, and how he was trying to protect these women from people in the ministry who were trying to get with them and all this stuff.
Right. That's the same thing that these jokers say when they get caught by Chris Hansen.
Yeah.
To catch a predator. They say, oh, I was just coming to make sure they were safe.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all right.
That's so true.
Bro.
And so he goes along with that story, and I'm just like, absolutely not. And I see him reconnect with Murad. So I start calling him out on everything. He's like all of them. Like, I mean, at that point, Murad had been doing it for a while. They start talking craziness about me, about our ministry, about my 2 brothers and my wife, who they literally pretty much don't know, which was kind of crazy. But they start shaming us, talking terrible things about us, which I didn't really care that much about. But it was like all my friends and stuff.
Right.
Like, just trying to get them to not reach out to us because we have the truth, because we have, evidence that goes against them. Mind you, I can't say this 100%, but from what I've heard and from everything going on, like, I don't think, he's a citizen here. I don't think, and I think that's part of why he was trying to cover it up, because I believe he's overstayed his visa. I believe, all these things have happened where it's like he's trying to protect himself from being, taken away and deported. So next thing you know, this is more recent. He actually starts asking all these young girls, mind you, all these young girls, they're all around the same age, 18, 19, 20, 21. He starts going to like 5 different girls, asking them like if they would be willing to like marry him, asking them inappropriate questions like we talked about before. And then he asks one of them, and from my opinion of meeting her, she seemed like the most vulnerable like girl on the team. She just went through a breakup. She's like really struggling spiritually and mentally. And like some of my friends were talking to her, trying to help her. And then she agrees to it. She's 21 years old. they get married in secret really, really quickly. And,
Oh my
now,
gosh, man.
whatever's happening is happening. But then, Pastor Don decides to talk to Abel, and then, decides like, okay, we're going to get this out here. At that time, I had already talked to some pastors who put this stuff on some of their networks with bigger ministers and stuff. And they started to at least, mark them, but
Yeah.
there was no exposure, and the police just never followed through with what, they were saying they were going to do.
Well, I'm telling you what, man. One, thanks for coming on and sharing. Yeah, we're going to get to the bottom of this. I'm looking into Paul, and I looked up the statute of limitations, and for what you guys experienced in Ohio, at least, it's 6 years. And so, this isn't, there's no reason that the police would be turning this down, but it doesn't matter. We're going to the FBI because this is not just multiple states, but multiple countries. I mean, one of the young men was assaulted in Mexico as well. So this is a big deal. And I think this is one of the biggest stories of my time because, I mean, we've got a guy who's systematically recruiting people to molest them.
Yeah.
It's intentional. And, I'm sorry that you went through this, but I promise you, bro, I'm committed to this until this thing is fully exposed. And, speaking of that, we got people in the waiting room ready to come on and share their testimonies as well. So, dude, I just want to, again, commend you for your courage to come on here and share and know that we're praying for you. Chat, let him know in the comments you're lifting Jordan up, you're praying for him, and you're grateful for his voice. Bro, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, guys, it just doesn't get any better. I mean, it's getting worse and worse. And now we've got this Paul character to look into who I'm in contact with, who's already been a little dodgy in the texts. And so we'll see. But typically, this is how it goes. One is covering up for another. And we're going to expose it all. We're going to uncover it all because this needs to be uncovered. There are victims on the other side of that. And speaking of that, we've got another victim with us. His name is Brendan. So without further ado, you guys know what to do. Welcome him in the chat. Let him know you're praying for him. You appreciate his bravery. Brendan, welcome, man. I'm sorry that this is how we had to meet under these circumstances, but
Yes.
I'm so grateful for you, and we'd just love to hear your story.
Yeah, well, yeah, my name is Brandon Sandoval, and I remember it like it was yesterday when I met Murad. I had encountered Jesus. Currently, right now, I'm 22 years old, just turned 22 this March. And I remember that I encountered with the Lord at the age of 16. And when quarantine hit, for some people, I fell off, stopped feeding myself with the Word of God, and spiritually I was weak and fell back into sin. And I remember in this period of time, I was trying to get back, having that same fire within me that was there in the first time. And I remember this guy, he was prophesying over me, saying that I was on fire, and that these other youth people, teenagers, you can call it, that are exactly like on fire from me or more, are gonna be around me, and I'll be preaching the word of God. I didn't see that because I was in a school of people that were like in a church that was much older, and people that were my age, they weren't really Christian, or they were lukewarm, or they're just there because their parents told them to go. And I was 17. So when I encountered Murad, I was going to a store. I took my time, honestly, and if I would have went in and went right out, I would have never ran into him. But I go ahead and I took my time, and everything just folded to where we crossed each other's paths. He said he heard me. I didn't hear him. And he started speaking to me, and he asked me, if you died today, would you go to hell or heaven? And, entered hell. And he started to tell me things on how I was feeling which I knew God was using him in that moment to, talk to me and to bring me back to the, with the sheep, and
Yeah.
so that's why I traveled with him, because the way this man encountered me was supernatural. And so, me full believing on God, going with the flow, Jesus take the wheel. Uh, just take the wheel, like, because it's just the way he encountered me was supernatural, and the things that I was feeling within myself, my soul. He started to tell me, how I was feeling, like you're feeling certain so and so. Okay, I went forward with that, and time went by, nothing had happened, and I remember we were in Atlanta. We were at this sister's house, because when we would travel state to state, someone would open their doors to their home and we would stay there. And I remember that in Atlanta, it was just me and him in this room.
And you're how old at this point?
I'm I think I'm 17. It's really so, like, long
Yeah.
ago. So
Yeah.
like, I remember I turned 18 with them, with Invasion. So I was 17, but I don't know
Okay.
if at that period of time I was 17 or not. But yeah. So I remember I woke up and his hand was over my private area, and in that moment, I felt like, how I guess any man would feel like kind of weirded out, and I
Right.
was just like, what's going on? And so I automatically stood up, and I wanted to do something else, but I knew that that was not going to be right, because honestly I've never been, let's say, violated like that.
Yeah.
So I really, like, I kind of took that personally, and so I in that moment, God being so great and merciful, like he like showed me, like, this is where, like, David was when he had that King Saul's sword in his hand. I could have been like, hey, you, what are you doing? And then gone out to the living room and started telling everybody what just happened. But I felt like I don't know, like, when if I was showed that, it was because not to, put it on blast, to check him, because how things were ministrated in that ministry was, let's say, I don't know, I in my personal opinion, I it was very manipulative.
Yeah.
If such things didn't go by someone, and if that someone in their mind, that's not right to them, not according to the word but to them, and if they try to accord it to the word, they will twist the word to fit their twisted life or twisted words, right? And so I was in that state where I was just like, okay. So, and once I like started to, like, ask him, hey, like, do you need me to pray for you? Because he also had I remembered in his testimony that he was talking about that he used to struggle with being gay, or that he was bi and stuff like that. So when I talked to him and I told him, hey, like, are you still struggling with being gay? Because, like, I could pray for you, because like I don't, like, that's not normal. And then he tried to say that, oh, why are you asking me that? That's making me uncomfortable, that this and that. And I'm like, uncomfortable? You just had your hand over my private area. That, what do you mean uncomfortable? I'm the one that's
Right.
uncomfortable right now. Yeah. So and then he goes ahead and he starts, saying that, oh, I just happened to wake up like that, I'm sorry, like, it won't happen again. And it didn't. But deep within me, I was just like, that's weird,
Yeah.
because I don't know, I could just tell by his face he was not asleep, and so time went by. We're back in my household. Now we're back in my state, which I'm in Virginia. And so then I remember that this kid, he came, Murad right now with other fellow brothers and sisters were out flyering, passing out flyers for another outreach. And me and this kid, we're talking. I think I think he was 17 at the time. And I remember that he went ahead and was just sharing, his faith with me. And, we were just fellowshipping together. And I don't really remember much what happened that day, but that night we all slept. I was in the top bunk bed, and Murad, and him were on the bottom bunk bed. Now, when I wake up, this kid is gone. I'm like, where'd he go? And I start to look at my phone, and right there in Instagram in the DMs, he is like, dude, that is a false prophet. He
Hmm.
was touching me while I was sleeping. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to make out of it because, we got to understand that we are we are youth. We are teenagers, right? Young people leaving everything behind to follow God because we're hungry after Him.
Right.
And then we encounter something like that. It's a big like confusion, stop. It's just like, what is going on? So he was really struck from the point of I'm trying to follow God, and God put me this man in my life, but he just did this to me. Like he was just explaining to me that kind of feeling and situation. And I told him that I had the same encounter. That is weird. So in my mind, and I because when people were leaving that ministry, you had to stay away from them. You couldn't talk to them no more. Whatever they said, it was of the devil, this and that. Just in my opinion, manipulative.
Yeah.
Very,
Totally.
very. That's just
That's cult
it's
like.
like that's like, come on, man. Like at the end of the day, that person's soul. What if they want to repent and stuff? Like so it was just like I told my other fellow brothers and sisters from when they used to be in invasion. The worst part is not this that's happening. When we talk about spiritual matters, there's other things that him and Paul were doing, did. But besides the fact he was he take in mind that his mom dropped him off 3 hours, so in the middle of the morning, like I'm talking about probably like 5 a.m., his mom came and picked him up. I didn't know, like I said, I'm reading off the messages. I tried
Yeah.
to look for the messages today after brother Z called me, and I couldn't find them. And but I would talk to him to see if he's if he's willing to share that testimony. And yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, man. And I was just that's
So
unacceptable.
that instance, you confronted him, and then it didn't happen again.
No. Well, at least with me, it didn't happen again because uh when I talk to him if they know, they know. For me to look at Murad and tell him, "Do you need me to pray for you?" says a lot. So when he knew that I was not playing with none of that stuff,
Yeah.
not because manhood or anything, but because of his own spiritual sake. You
Right.
have a lot on your shoulders, dude. You're telling people, you're leading a lot of people. We're doing all these things, and you're doing that. You gotta watch out. It was just a love for him.
Yeah.
As a genuine soul and everything. I was like,
Yeah,
let
because
me
you're
pray
thinking
for you.
you thinking he might have made a misstep. He might have acted
You
out of
know?
his flesh for a moment or something, and you're like, let me pray for you.
Yeah, like just genuinely like, brother, are you struggling with this?
Right.
He hits me with you're making me uncomfortable with these questions. I'm like, you can't talk about uncomfortable right now.
No. Well, and then when you look back and you see this wasn't an error that he made. He intentionally brings people in to touch them.
Yeah,
That's
man.
what it's all about.
And the worst part, he would want you to sleep with him. I would literally witness some other brothers be like, no, I'm gonna sleep on the floor. Prophets sometimes get touchy. I'm like observing because it hadn't happened to me yet, but they were talking about it like that. And I was like, huh. So I
Man.
go ahead and I put two and two together. And after that, I just didn't want nothing to do with Murad. It was an invasion, it was Murad. And also just certain things that was going on in there that uh I just didn't feel right in my spirit. Like you can talk and do all these kind of works, but your fruit and your character is what talks louder.
Right.
So there was just certain things that were just iffy. It was like what is it? But yeah, and so I after that incident of that kid texting me, he even tried to keep it subdued, because everyone asked, because brother, he didn't he wasn't even there for 2 days. Like, he didn't, no one didn't even know who he was. So that's the
Yeah.
worst part.
Wow.
Because when they asked, they were like, hey, what was that? Like, wasn't there someone else with us? Murad was like, oh yeah, he had to do something because da da da, and his parents came and picked him up. You're not gonna tell the truth? So,
Oh, that's
you
coming out
know,
now.
oh, it's coming out now for sure. And you know what? I'm glad it's coming out this way, because honestly, like, I was filled with anger, and the word, I'm not so, I try not to say anything when I'm in anger, to, restrict myself from saying something foul.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I'm
that's
proud of you,
why I
man.
didn't say anything. But yeah,
I'm
man,
proud of
this,
you. Way to exercise self-control. Because you're right, man. That is a David and Saul moment where you're standing over this guy who's sleeping or pretending to be asleep, and you're like, I could just pound this guy right now
yeah,
for
man. And
for
it
for
wasn't even
touching my
something,
genitals while I'm asleep. Like, are you kidding me? But you
yeah,
didn't, man. And you even went further to ask if you could pray for him because you recognize that his soul is in trouble if he can do these kind of things.
yeah, yeah.
Man, I commend you, bro. You've got a lot of maturity, and I just want to say thanks for joining us. I know you took time out of your busy schedule to come on here and share your testimony, and it means a lot to me and to all of our viewers. And we're gonna see justice done, man. I believe it.
Jesus' name.
Yeah.
Yep. All right then.
All right, bro. Thank you so
All right.
much.
You
We'll
have
be
a great
praying for
one.
you.
God bless you.
All right.
All right.
Man, can you believe just the grace and mercy that these victims, these kids, are showing to this guy who they're trying to hope for the best and see the best in, and he has absolutely taken advantage of them? I mean, we should pray to be half the people that some of these kids are, the way that they show grace and mercy in a very, very difficult and confusing moment where they just realized, I think I've been abused and by the guy that I've been I mean, I'm blown away by that. Gosh, we've got one more victim to hear from tonight, and that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Again, there's 31 confirmed victims. I saw a text that said they believe that there's 50, but they haven't been able to confirm the others. And so just know we're working on it. We're in conversation with all the right people to get this handled on a legal front. And the way that you can support is by spreading the word. These kids have shown great courage and bravery by coming forward with their testimony. So please help amplify their voices by liking the video, sharing the video, commenting on the video. Post it everywhere. Send it to news stations. Send it to your local news station. Say, hey, did you guys hear about this? You know, this guy's like Jeffrey Epstein. Blast this everywhere until somebody picks it up and runs with it besides just me. Now, without further ado, we're going to get to our last guest. Her name is Mikey. So let's get to Mikey right now. All right, we're here with Michael, you said, but you go by Mikey. Hey, thanks for joining us. Again, like I tell everyone, you guys are so brave. Come share your story. And so I know you might have been waiting a long time to get this out. And the floor is yours. So go ahead, brother.
So my name is Michael, Michael Palestina, and I had met Murad when I was 19. I was in a position where, I was dealing, at the time I was in Florida. I was dealing with a lot. I was dealing with depression, anxiety, just trying to get myself situated with life, because my life wasn't easy. I had previously got sexually assaulted by another quote unquote, he said he was a prophet. And it was during the time where I was in the entertainment industry at the time. He claimed that he was a prophet, and so he sexually assaulted me, that other guy. And
Gosh.
so I met Murad off Instagram because Murad texted me. He was scrolling through Instagrams and he saw my page. And when he saw my page, at the time I was doing like thirst trap videos, TikToks and stuff. And so he looked at my page, and then he sent me a text. And that text was, "God bless you, brother. Hopefully everything's okay." And then I saw the message on my request on Instagram. I ended up going on it and I accepted it and I texted back. I was like, "Thank you. It's much appreciated." And then he started to text me, just trying to get to know me. Trying to get to know my situation and stuff. He asked me if I wanted prayer. I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. I actually needed it at the time because I was dealing with a lot."
Yeah.
And so he texted me. He was like, "What do you need prayer for?" I told him stability and guidance. And he asked me, what was that like? Why did I need that prayer for? And I explained to him that, I was going through homelessness at the time. I was dealing with depression, anxiety. Everybody in my life, left me. I didn't have really anybody, there for me, other than my best friend. And he was helping me out, with food and stuff like that, as much as he possibly could.
Yeah.
And while I was in the hotel room, Murad kept just texting me, just trying to pray for me and stuff. And then from there, we hopped on a call. And I kind of explained to him my story. I explained to him that I did get sexually assaulted prior. And so I was explaining to him my story and everything. He's like, "Wow, brother, it's not a coincidence that, I sent you that DM today." And from there he prayed for me on the call on Instagram. And then from there he tried to do a deliverance on me on that call. And he was just praying for me. He was doing praying in tongues. And at the end of that prayer, it was like, why don't you come to the ministry? And I was a bit confused because I didn't really understand like what he wanted from me at that
Yeah.
time. And so I was just sitting in the hotel in that hotel room. And as days went on, he kept trying to say that, "Yeah, you belong in the ministry. You should come out here. The reason why you should come out here is because you've been dealing with all that stuff. This would be a definitely good place for you to consecrate yourself with the Lord. Do full-time ministry." And I was it sounded nice because of the current situation that I was in. He
Right.
said there was housing, there was food, that I wouldn't have to take care of anything. And so that it did sound good. And he said, it's a full-time commitment for the Lord. And at the time I wanted my relationship with the Lord to grow even stronger than what it was initially, even though I was struggling, even though I was dealing with a lot at the time. I still knew who God was and I know that he was faithful. And he brought that opportunity up to me. And I ended up taking it because I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have no place to, be bouncing around because I was bouncing around from the age of 17 years old,
Yeah.
from house to house, being homeless and stuff. And so he ended up just telling me to come out there. And I was a bit sketched out at first. At first, I was a bit sketched out. I didn't really know too much about it. So what he would do, he would just call me consistently throughout the days, and he would put different people on the calls, like Javier, Desmond, Johan, and he would put them on the call, and he would explain to them, like, "Here, talk to Michael and tell him your story, and what the ministry has done for you since you've been here." And as he was doing that, like that kind of like, settled my thoughts a little bit on the aspect of, yeah, okay, it's not as sketch as I thought it was because I'm seeing people my age as well, telling me what they went through and
Yeah.
what they overcome being in the ministry. And so I'm thinking nothing of it. I'm thinking it's gonna be the opportunity of a lifetime for me. And I'm thinking that the Lord wanted me to do this. And so I'm still kind of like sketched out about it, but within 3 days, he kept trying to like push it onto me. Like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come to Florida. I'm gonna pick you up. I'm gonna come over there. I'm gonna pick you up." And the day before he came, I was like very unsure if I should even go. And he texted me that same day that he was already on his way. So when he texted me he was already on his way, it was just like, wow, like I didn't even make a full decision yet, and
Yeah.
he's already coming. And so he took some people from the ministry. They rented out a car. Once they rented out that car, they ended up driving, I think it was like 14 hours to Florida to come pick me up.
Wow.
And he was like, "Are you excited? Like, I'm excited to meet you, da 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 da." This, that, and the third. He was like, "The whole team's excited to meet you." And so I'm nervous. I'm talking to my best friend about it. I'm telling him, what's going on, the situation and everything. He was like, "Yeah, this is definitely a good opportunity for you, that you should take it." And I ended up just like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna like I'll not be so nervous about it and just see like what's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah.
And so he ends up driving 14 hours. I ended up meeting him once he drove up and picked me up. I met Desmond, Elijah, Murad, Esteban. I met those people that I can remember from the top of my head. And when I first came, I was nervous. I was shy. I didn't really know who they were. And so and they ended up meeting me. It was all nice. Like they showed gratitude towards me. Like they showed compassion towards me. They were all nice at first. I ended up getting in the car and Murad already was like trying to talk to me. Trying to build that connection with me already off rip. And we're driving and everything. He ends up buying me food. Everything goes well. Um, we're driving. We end up getting to Dayton, Ohio, where his ministry is at. So once we get there, everybody's like in the middle of the night. Everybody's a bit tired. Everybody is tired, not a bit tired. Everybody's tired. Marad ends up taking me to his room with Elijah, because Elijah was staying in Marad's room at the time. And I ended up going to his room. He was like, this is my spot. This is my place." And I was like, "Yeah, this looks nice. It's appropriate. It looks cool." And then I went to go look over there on the other side of the house because he has two properties. And so when I'm looking at the other properties as well, I'm like, okay, it's not too bad. This is not as bad as I think it would, because I'm already used to like, sharing rooms with people. I'm already used to like sleeping with three people on the bed and stuff like that.
Right.
I'm already used to all that stuff because of based off like my prior situations of being homeless and having to go into homeless shelters and sleep with other people. Like I already got used to that.
Yeah.
And so as uh as he puts me in the room, he was like, "Okay, you're gonna stay here for now until we find you some space." And so it's me, Elijah, and Murad. And then Elijah ends up sleeping on the floor. I ended up sleeping on the bed. The first day and everything, like he didn't really do much. He didn't like, really bug me. He didn't really like try to touch on me or anything. He gave me my space. And that was at first. And as time kept going on, the next day I'm at the ministry, and as time continued on, like Elijah was still sleeping on the floor. Like there was times where Murad was rude to the people in the ministry. Like he would do punishments that made no sense. If you didn't do a certain thing that he wanted to do, he would get mad. And then he would try to punish you. I started to see that. We couldn't really be on our phones. We couldn't really like he was technically controlling us on things that we did. And as time continued on, I still am staying at Murad's place. I'm wondering, when I'm gonna end up, going to the other house, because they had pretty much three properties. Like Murad had three properties, one for the girls, and there was only barely any girls in the ministry, and there was rooms available that were in that house. And the other house was pretty full. Like everybody was had a roommate technically in the room. And I'm staying in Murad's room. Murad is like, talking to me. He's being nice. He's trying to get to know me more. Trying to break down my walls, and he ends up, helping me out with my current situation because I had a court thing that I had to pay. Ra was there. He was paying for my stuff at first, and as time continued on, like things started to get a little bit more weird. He kept saying, I'm letting stuff slide with you, Michael, because you are new to the ministry. And so he kept me for the majority of the time from fundraising. When people would go out to fundraise, he would keep me. And he told me that he wanted me to be his armor bearer. Like anywhere he went, I would go with him. I would carry
Yeah.
his book bag. I would carry his stuff. The same thing that Elijah was doing. Elijah was his armor bearer. He was doing all that stuff, carrying his book bag, laptop, water, preparing food, doing everything for Murad. And so he had me doing that same thing. But the way how Murad treated me, it felt like he was giving me special treatment from others because he would treat others disrespectfully. He would talk to them in a rude tone. But when it came to me, like he kept trying to let stuff slide with me. Try to keep me in the house, trying to try to help me out to try to like manipulate me.
Hmm.
And as time continued on, like I fell into the manipulation of Murad because at first it was just like when he was doing that, it was like, I'm not too sure, like that's weird. But as time continued on, um, it was more of a manipulation thing. He would keep me from going out fundraising to try to help me out with my clothing brand at the time, help me out with financial things. And as he would keep me, he says, I love you. And like off rip, like he's saying, I love you. And it's weird because like you barely even know me. You barely even had a relationship with me to even tell me that you love me already off
Right.
rip. And I'm telling him, yeah, I appreciate it. Like, yeah, I appreciate it. And then he's like, oh, you don't love me? Like trying to like manipulate me into trying to say that I love him. And I've already dealt with a lot of people taking advantage of me, a lot of people manipulating me, and me falling into their schemes without me even noticing that what they're doing. And then I fell into, his manipulation, his traps. I'm saying I love you too to him and stuff like that because I was very easy to persuade and influence because of the trauma that I had went through
Yeah.
with the last sexual assault that I was dealing with. So I was very vulnerable, and I was very like, to myself. And Murad would keep me. He would tell me that I love you. Every time that I had my game set up in his room, he would try to like hug me and like force me to like lay down on the bed with him. Would be playing in the middle of a match, Call of Duty, and he would just come out of his seat and he would be like, Mikey, Mike, like Mikey, Mike, like. And he would like grab me and try to force me to like get on the bed with him to lay down. And I'm
What
like,
in the
and I'm trying
world?
to like, push him off, and I'm trying to like, like get him off of me. And he was like, I love you, Mikey, Mike. Like he would say that. And he was like, I vividly, I would know. And I remember he was like, I love you, Mikey, Mike. That's what he would call me. And it felt so uncomfortable. Like it felt very uncomfortable. And also the way how he would treat Elijah would horrible, horrible, horrible. Elijah would sleep on the floor every single night that I was there. He would have Elijah cooking for him, cleaning for him, doing all of the above for him, like treating Elijah like he's a slave. Um, and I was witnessing that, and I really didn't say anything. And that's why I felt very favoritized with everybody in the ministry and with me and Murad. And it kept developing to the point where now when I'm sleeping in the bed with him, he starts getting very touchy with me. What he starts doing is starts randomly giving me massages without me even having to say anything. Like it would be feeling so weird. Like it was so weird. I would be in the middle of I would be in bed on my phone, like laying down, and he would just start randomly just start touching on my back, massaging me and stuff. Um, and I would like try to like move over onto the side because like it was very weird for me, and I didn't
Right.
really say anything because I thought like, oh, it's just him being him. Like this is his personality.
Sure.
Um, And that was weird for me. And at night, like when it started, like he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mike. Um, this is the way how I sleep. Like, when I sleep on one side, I end up, sleeping on the other side of the bed." And he took up the majority of the side of the bed every single night. He would take majority of the bed, and what he would do is that he would put his legs on top of mine and try to curl up with me. Like he would say, "Oh, um, I have something with attachments. Like I have to have somebody sleeping with me." And he's like trying to tell me that, "Oh, you'll get double portions of anointing sleeping with me, and you'll also get dreams and visions from God more when you're sleeping with me."
Yeah.
And I don't really pay too much mind because it does sound sus. And in my head at that point, I was like, "Yeah, this is sus." And it continues and it continues and it continues. Um, I'm sleeping in the bed. What he does is like he hugs me and like presses his groin against my legs. And he starts rubbing his groin around my leg as he thinks I'm sleeping.
Like he's
And
dry humping you.
yeah, like he's like moving around and he thinks I'm sleeping, but I'm not. And I always have to end up like sleeping on my stomach, because if I sleep on my side, what he would do is that he would like big spoon me. Like I would be sleeping on my side. I would be sleeping on the other side, like with my back turned against him. And what he
Yeah.
would do, he would get super close to me and he would put his groin like around the bottom of my butt. And I felt that. And this is why I had to like always sleep on my stomach on the edge of the bed, because every single time that he would do that, I would always end up on the corner of the bed, and I always have to tell Murad, "Scoot over, move over. I'm on the edge of the bed," and he would get mad, he would be upset, and it like affected me because if he wasn't happy, then like he would stay quiet, he would ignore me, and then later on, like he would try to talk to me, he would be like, "Mike, come here, let's talk." And I kept telling Morale, like, "Hey, bro, I feel uncomfortable. I don't like it. This is not right." And
Right.
he kept doing it every single night. Like every single night, I couldn't even sleep for real. We would wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning to pray in tongues, and from there at 6 we would fall back asleep, and he would be doing the same thing, trying to press his groin against me, trying to press his against my butt, and it was very uncomfortable. And then he got try to get comfortable to the point now where he started to try to kiss me on my cheek. He started to like tell me, "Oh, come here, give me a kiss
While
on the
he's doing
cheek."
this?
And what he would do is that no, not while he was doing this. While um, just sitting down, just anywhere, he
Okay.
would be like, "Come, give me a kiss on the cheek." Um, and he was like, "I love you, Mikey, Mike." And then what he would do is just try to kiss my cheek, and I would like move my face, and his lips try to touch my lips, and it was so weird for me. Like it was genuinely weird for me, and just the way how things were going, like I genuinely felt depressed while being in the ministry. I felt like, all over again. I felt traumatized all over again. I felt trapped because I didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't have family to take care of me. I don't
Yeah.
have, a destined spot where I'm able to say, this is my home. I don't have any of that stuff. And so this is the only reason why I ended up staying in the ministry and dealing with the stuff that I was dealing with, because I didn't have any other choice. Like I just couldn't up and leave. I couldn't do any of that stuff. So that continued on and continued on. um he would just keep trying to like not discipline me like the rest of the others, because he knew what he was doing. He was manipulating me. He
Yeah.
was trying to, you know have that homosexuality back into his life, trying to do it with me. And it was to a point now where he tried to correct me for putting on a jacket. And I told Murad, like, "I'm not gonna put on a jacket. Like, I'm not putting on a jacket." And he get mad. He would get mad, And I told him I'm not putting on a jacket. Simple. Like, there's no reason why I should put on a jacket. Like, I'm good. And he was like, brother, go put on a jacket. And he would start screaming at me. And then I was in the car with Sean Morales and what's his name? Sean Morales and not Esteban, but Caesar. So I was in their car, and Murad kept saying this, "Go put on a jacket, brother." I'm like, "No, I don't need to put a jacket on. Like I already have one on. I don't. Why do I need to get another one for? Like I already have a jacket." And we were supposed to go out fundraising, and when we were supposed to go out fundraising, he calls Sean, and as he's calling Sean, he was like, "Oh, tell this brother Michael now he has to write a verse in the Bible like 150 times." And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that for a simple jacket. Like, you're not
Right.
gonna tell me to write a verse 150 times for a simple jacket. And he said, "Pass me the phone to Michael." And I ended up grabbing the phone. He was like, "Brother, this is what you about to do. You about to watch this video. You're gonna write what you learned from this video, and then you're gonna write 150 times this verse." And I'm telling him, I'm not doing that. Like, you're not gonna tell me what to do over a jacket. And he was like, "Brother, stop talking back." And he's yelling at me at this point. And I'm like, "Yo, I'm not gonna listen to you. Like, you're not my father. Like,
Right.
you don't tell me what to do." And he's getting mad. And I keep telling him, like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. You're not gonna force me. And then we're driving to go to Dayton, Ohio. Not Dayton, Ohio. We Columbus to OSU. And Marat says, "Turn the car around. Bring this brother back now." And they ended up driving back. Marad's in his car. I ended up getting out. He was like, "Brother, get in the car now." And I told him, "No, I'm not getting in your car. You're tripping. You're not gonna about to yell at me over a jacket and then think you have the authority over me." And so I ended up walking off. I ended up walking off. Bree ended up calling me, asking me if I'm good. I didn't answer. And then Marad continued on with this day. I ended up walking all the way down to a Panera Bread, and I was like, "You know what, bro? This is my day. Like, I'm over this. Dude is trying to rub his groin area on me. He's
Right.
giving me trauma, like from more trauma than I've already dealt with. Plus, on top of that, he knew my trauma. He knew the incidents that I had went through. He know what was going on in my life, in my current life. And I ended up just walking off. And he started texting me a whole bunch of stuff. He was like, "Oh, you need to ask God for forgiveness, because you know what you're doing is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this to me. I put in so much work into you. I invest so much time and money into you for you to be doing this, brother. Whenever you feel like you can come back to the house when you feel like you're ready to talk." And I'm just ignoring him. And I'm trying to figure out a game plan so then I'm able to leave, so I'm able to find a place. And I can't, because I don't have no money. I don't have anywhere to go. And all the money
Hmm.
that I did have, it had to go to Murad. It had to go to him. So it was like I didn't have no control over my money. He had control over all of it. He had control over everything. And
Man.
I ended up leaving for hours. And he ends up coming to Panera Bread. I'm sitting in Panera Bread, just brainstorming, just praying, like, "God, why is this happening to me? Like, what did I do so wrong for this to happen?" And it started to change my perspective on who God was, because this was the second time that this happened to me.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't understand you, Lord. Like, why do you allow this to happen to me? Like, it hurts, and you know that it hurts. The first time it hurt me a lot. And so for this to happen the second time, it like completely broke me. Like I fell into a deep depression. I felt suicidal. I felt like I didn't, why was I here? What's my purpose? Like, if is my purpose to here just to get assaulted by everybody
Right.
and continue on? Like, I didn't know what I was here for. And he ends up finding me, and I'm telling him, "I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving. I'm leaving." He was like, "Okay, that's fine. You can leave. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring all your stuff to Panera Bread, and you're gonna leave from there." I'm like, "No, you're not. You're not gonna do that, because my stuff is already placed in his house. Like, I had a drawer and stuff like that." And
Yeah.
he said, "Oh, I'm gonna take all that stuff out, and I'm gonna leave it at Panera Bread." And I'm like, "No, you're not. You touch my property, you touch my stuff, I'm calling the police on you." And then he has the authority to say that, oh, you're staying in my house, I'm gonna call the police on you. And I'm like, yo, you're not okay. I told him, call them. And then he ends up calling them. And then from there, he was like, get in the car right now, I'm gonna take you back to the house. And I'm like, no, for that, I'm gonna walk, pack my stuff, and I'm gonna go. And he ends up going back to the house. I ended up walking back to the house. I'm packing my stuff up. The police ended up showing up. I ended up having to throw out all my stuff on the street, pack my stuff up on the street, and the police was there just to watch everything. Me leave and everything, and I'm explaining to them like, yeah, I'm not gonna stay here. Like, I
Yeah.
feel uncomfortable. And Murad, and then his brother. His brother has like autism. I don't know what he has. Like this, so it's a type of medical condition that he has. And he was there, and he was like, "Oh, I called the cops just because to keep safety between my brother, you, and I." And I'm packing my stuff. I'm like, all my stuff is at this point is outside on the street. It is super cold outside. I'm packing my stuff out in the cold. And once the police leave, it's he's talking to me. He was like trying to manipulate me to try to continue to stay in the ministry. He just keeps saying, "I'm sorry, brother. Like, I know that I yelled at you, this, that, and the third." He was like, "Why are you gonna give up everything that God gave you here just to throw it all away?" He's like, "Brother, you don't even have anywhere to go. Where are you gonna go? With who you're gonna go?" And I'm like, "I don't know, Mariah. I'm gonna figure it out. But just leave me alone. I'm not staying here anymore."
Yeah.
And he keeps trying to manipulate me and tell me like, I'm sorry, Mike, I'm sorry. And I got to the point where I was like, I didn't want to hear anything that he had to say. And he was like, oh, if you want, you could just punch me in my face as much as you want. And I'm like, what am I gonna get out of violence? I'm
Right.
not gonna get nothing out of punching you, hurting you. I'm not gonna get nothing out of that, but only temporary pleasure. And for me, I'm not with that temporary pleasure. And I told him that, and I ended up packing all my stuff home, and I ended up leaving. And so
Man.
that night, I ended up having to go to a homeless shelter in Dayton, Ohio. I didn't have anywhere to go. I was running around with 2 suitcases and 3 book bags, and those 2 suitcases were heavy. And I was carrying 3 book bags on me, and so I had a lot of weight that I was carrying out on the street in the middle of the night. I ended up leaving, going to the homeless shelter and stuff. Marad keeps texting me, come back, come back, come back. You don't need to leave, trying to manipulate me, talking about, I miss you, Mike. Please come back. There's no reason for you to leave. And I told him, like, I left. I said,
Yeah.
screw that. I left. And then I eventually ended up telling him what he did to make me feel uncomfortable. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you or anybody. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. It's not my intentions. It's not this. And I didn't know anybody else,
You're right.
had dealt with this with him. So I thought that, it was just, it's,
Like a
something
one
where
off.
it just happened, yeah. And he was sorry. So I ended up leaving Dayton, Ohio. I ended up getting a ticket back to Orlando. And from Orlando, I was back homeless from square one. And I was texting Murad. I was like, Murad, you need to help me out because there's no way how I leave your ministry based off something that you did and you're not willing to help me out. And I literally left with $0. I had nothing to my name. I didn't have food. I didn't have anything to drink. I didn't have a place to stay, nothing. And I'm telling Morale, like, help me out with a room at least. And he's like, I don't know, brother. Like, I'm not sure if I can help you out because I have things that I have to take care of as well. You're not in the ministry anymore, so you're not my problem. And
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, but you put me in this situation. You put me in this circumstance.
Right.
And he still wasn't with it. And as time continued on, he kept trying to persuade me to come back to the ministry, come back to the ministry. And I ended up telling somebody in the ministry what happened, Javier. And Javier, he dealt with it as well, with Murad, like dealing with the same weird things, the touching, the grown area, And I ended up telling him my situation, him and Miguel, because those are the two people that were in the ministry that I can actually trust, because everybody else in that ministry felt like they were a robot to
Yeah.
Murad. So anything that I
Oh,
would
because they're
say,
brainwashed
it
by
would
him.
go direct. Yeah, they're brainwashed by him. And so
Yeah.
anything that I would say, it would go straight to Murad. And so I ended up just telling both of them because I could trust them and they weren't the type to be out here snitching to Mirage about those things. And
Yeah.
so I ended up telling Javier about it. And he was like, yo, that is crazy because, you know, that happened to me too. And so Murad and Javier got into a physical altercation. Murad slammed Javier's face onto the wall, being super aggressive towards him. And then Javier and Marat started to fight. And then that's when the people like Desmond, Elijah, Esteban, all those people started
Yeah.
to you know, uh push away Javier. And then Javier ended up saying, well, this is why you sexually assaulted Mikey, this is why you made him do this, and that. And that's when Marat texted me talking about I'm super sorry
Wow.
about the whole entire situation. And I'm sorry if I hurt you. Please forgive me. Please find it in your heart to forgive me. I'm so sorry. And with me, it's hard for me to like sit here and forgive people, especially like when it affects my life and my outlook on who God is.
Right.
Um, I ended up just not really talking to him, but after time, I sat there and I was like, okay, I can't have no type of hatred towards him. None of that stuff, but what he did really, like, you know, affected me, affected my mind,
Yeah.
affected my relationship with God. And it really made me to like want to kill myself really when I was in Florida. Like there was
Gosh,
times
man.
where I just wanted to, you know, jump on a highway or just jump off a bridge because, you know, I didn't know what was my purpose in life, including the fact that he left me out there homeless. And so like he didn't care. He only
Yeah.
cared when I was
Well, and
there.
that reveals who he really is, you know,
Yeah.
and he had you there for one purpose, and
Yeah.
that was to touch you and abuse you. And bro, as we wrap this up and close out, I just want to tell you, man, that one, we're grateful that you decided to stay and that you didn't take your life, and to just encourage you to continue to trust God, because you know what men have done and people have done in the name of the Lord, if it does not line up with this right here, then it is not God. If it doesn't line up with the word, it's not God. God is the God of his word. He is a good father. He will never do those things to you. And I just want to encourage you, bro. And chat, let him know in the comments, you know, you're praying for him, you're lifting up Mikey, and that you're thankful that he's here and that you didn't take your life. So, bro, again, I commend you for your courage to come share your testimony. I know it'll give courage to many others to speak out as well. And bro, I thank you for making time and coming on here and speaking with me.
Always. Like it does need to come out because this is something that I had been holding inside of my heart for quite a while. Just based on not knowing who went through what. And I thought I was the only person that had went through that. So that's the reason why I didn't really say anything. And on top
Yeah,
of that, Murad would sit here and twist the word of God to try to um persuade it in his way. So
of course.
um I'm just happy now like that people are speaking up about it and things are getting done to, you know, take him out for what he did, because like it's not right to sit here and be dealing with that stuff because he's in a position of pastoral and he thinks he's able to control people, manipulate people. Like that shouldn't be. Like nobody should be um in ministry or just a pastor in general
Right.
leading people if he's doing, you know, things like that, because at that point it's a cult like what he
Yep.
has. And
It
it's
100% is. And just know that I'm committed to seeing him taken down. So your testimony is going to help with that. And again, man, I appreciate you being on here and sharing your story. So thank you.
thank you for
Yeah,
actually giving a platform for people to be able to, you know, speak on it. I
absolutely,
appreciate
man.
that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, you've heard it all here, and, listening to Mikey, can you tell he's been bottling this up for so long and finally gets the chance to tell his whole story and how everything went down and the fact that it led him to not want to be here anymore and to question God. I mean, what Murad is doing is not just sexual assault and abuse. It's not just physical. It is spiritual torment, and it is messing with the hearts and minds of good people, and it's got to stop. And as I've said to these young men, I am committed, I am dedicated, I am devoting to seeing him taken down. So please help me by doing your part and sharing this video, liking the video, commenting on the video, spread it everywhere, send it to every news station in your city. Let this become a national story, because it needs to be. This is a ring of recruitment and molestation. This is not some small thing. This is not some one-off thing. This is intentional, and it's still going. So please help me, and we will see this guy taken down. God bless you guys. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will have updates posting. We've got more victims reaching out who want to be interviewed. I will do my best to make time for them, and we'll see what happens. But we know ultimately that Jesus is the answer. He's the one who heals the human heart. And if you're suffering from abuse or trauma, cry out to the Lord. He is the one who can heal your heart and heal your mind. Amen. All right, guys. God bless you. We'll see you next time.